Yep, Bimbo. Welcome everyone to the Film Vault. That's Anderson. I'm Brian Bishop, your host for today. Oh, very special top five. Top five characters who would be best to eat. Now, I'm not a sicko. I mean, I am, but I'm not a sicko in this regard. This is inspired by our viewing of the Society of the Snow.
Nope.
If we were, if
Society
we
of
were
Snow.
Society of the Snow.
Mm.
If we had crash landed on a plane full of movie characters in the Andes, playing rugby with them, who would we really hope is on that plane
In Society of the Snow.
in our society?
Yeah. No, it's just characters we would like to eat. It's that simple. I don't know
Oh,
why
I just thought of a terrible one.
why you have to get all like wordy with it. It's just characters we like to eat.
It's right there, but I want people to think that we're just sitting around fantasizing.
Well, in
about eating.
Those who don't listen will just think that, and I don't care if you're not listening to the show. I don't care if you. I mean, you already have a bunch of ideas anyways, and they're all mostly wrong. So hey, whatever, let them continue.
Okay, well, I'm giving people context.
No, everything they think about me is true.
Yeah, maybe they are tuning in because they've heard Avery on the LA Mag podcast, went to see Comedy Confessional this weekend and thought, hey, I'll check out that movie podcast you was talking about.
That's true.
It's possible.
It's very unlikely.
And that's a slim slice.
It's a very slight chance, is what you're trying to say, Bray. Hey,
no, it's a slim slice of our the pie that makes up our listenership.
good to see both y'all. It's gonna be a fun show. I think it's gonna be a fun show. We have
what's up with you? Why are we remote today?
It's just I have a lot going on. It's I don't know. It's easy for you to say, Brian. Like
I'm just
really,
curious.
Is it really lost on you as to why I might?
I don't know if you weren't feeling well. I didn't know if the rain was keeping you home. I didn't know if Atticus had a game.
It's B. It's choice B there, Brian. We're in something called an atmospheric river.
Yeah, there you go. There's a lot of reasons why it could be.
About an hour and 45 minutes to get to your house now. Yeah.
There's no traffic.
Mm-hmm. How would you know that, Brian, when you've been
I'm totally guessing
all day long?
That is true, actually. I haven't stepped foot outside.
I also, Jillian did have to go in to the to her county job today, and she didn't get home until about 10 minutes ago. So even if I were to have tried to make it out there, I'd be leaving like 10 minutes ago. And
brutal.
Yeah, so it was just, plus I got a leak in the roof that I'm dealing with, and there's a lot going on. So hey, we can do remotes every now and again, especially when it takes so long for me to get to your house these days.
You keep harping on the length of travel. I don't think it'll be that. I don't think it's that bad.
Can't tell if he's doing a bit, but I don't think he is. I think this is just Brian. I think this is just how.
You know what, Anderson, and all honesty, Anderson texted and said, "Guys, need to do a remote. A lot going on today." And like a cool boss, I was like, "No problem, man. You do what you got to do. Take care of your family. How's the little guy?" Is what I said.
I don't know how much longer I can do this show. I really don't know how much longer. Me, I don't. You know, it's the end of a long day, and I just don't have it in me to even combat Baldwin, who's all look at how well rested he is. He's probably had his feet up on. He's probably done fuck all day.
What's the over under on Brian's wearing slippers right now?
Yeah, slippers.
You're wearing a robe.
Anything below the waist.
Mm-hmm. All right, so hey,
I have thick socks on.
It's going to be a fun show. I am not sure if we line up on what we line up on.
That would be crazy.
Our flick fashions, but I know we're going to do a very.
I'll think my top 5.
New. I don't think we're going to have any crossover there. But what'd you see, Brian? What are we going to line up before?
I saw some Oscar nominees. I saw a film that was assigned to us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. I guess we'll figure that out.
I think we're going to line. One of the Oscar nominees, I beg your pardon, one film that was snubbed at the Oscars, and I know you two have talked about at length, I finally caught up with, and I know, Anderson, you want to do a spoiler talk on this movie, so I'm ready to contribute.
Anatomy of a Fall is what Brian.
No, we already did that.
Then I have no idea. I'm very lost. Saltburn.
I'm also lost.
Saltburn, because that's the one that I wanted to do a.
No, he's already saltburned, I thought.
I know. He's saltburned a couple weeks ago. I don't know. I'm lost.
I don't think I did.
You know what's funny about this year is like I don't have any clear cut favorite movie. It's really going to
I
take some
talked briefly about Saltburn, but I didn't know.
Okay, I'm tired. Oh, that I have no like it's gonna be like I have an idea of what might like if I had to make my list right now on the fly, I think I know what my number one is, but it's not like years past where it's just like, oh yeah, that's it. You know what I mean?
I thought about that today, Anderson. I thought like, oh, I'm gonna come across some movies in like looking up the for the vaulties that I've seen this year and be delightfully surprised. Like, oh yeah, that was a really good movie. It came out earlier this year and I forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, I think it was a solid year for movies, but not like, oh my God, what a great year.
Really? I thought it was unbelievable. I thought
Mm.
that's
think
part of
it-
the problem.
I was looking at my Vaulties from last year, like, yeah, I don't know if this one's gonna hold a candle. Oh,
I think it's deep, but it's not top heavy. Like
exactly.
even
Deep
like
draft.
yeah, like, if we're talking about Barbie versus Oppenheimer for Best Picture, it's pretty good, but I can't say that it's top heavy year. That said, there were a lot of good movies.
Okay. Let's hear from Avery.
There's a lot of parity in the league this year.
That's true.
There you go. A lot of teams with a chance to make the playoffs.
Very
Let's
good,
hear.
very competitive.
Let's
There you
hear
go.
what the listeners have been watching since the last week talked to you.
Little fan fliction compiled by Mitch Burns. Mitch said if they don't mention it, then to mention. Someone said we should do top 5 Carl Weathers movies since he passed away.
Yeah, Brian said in a text that he wanted to eat him,
I would have loved to have.
but we're
Tasteful.
not weirdos.
Tasteful.
Aged.
Other listener comments. There was much discussion on the various socials. This is swiftly becoming the "We Are Dumb" segment rather than
We.
listener comments. Oh yes, Tyler Durden 79 on Reddit. They were pronouncing diaspora, which I have never heard it said that way. It's supposed to be diaspora. It's very strange that they have never heard this word. Living in a city where we have 95% of the Armenian diaspora living here, and others.
To be fair, I said
have heard that.
diaspora. I still think
yeah. So Deft and Ugly on Reddit. It was odd to me as well that no one knew the word diaspora. Even Brian was pronouncing and using it incorrectly.
No. I was pronouncing it incorrectly, apparently.
When people do
I
have
do not
gaps.
deserve this shrapnel.
I would note that the word doesn't really come up in law school. He's given Florence and now too. Jesus tends to come up in history, politics, journalism classes, as well as international news. Odd moment, but not a big deal. And then
So the word is pronounced diaspora.
Diaspora.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I think you were saying it correctly. The rest of us were not. And then finally, Thames X2 on Reddit puts it bluntly: how do you get that far through life never hearing the term diaspora used?
Again, I feel really good about this.
So the listeners had our number. But now on to the fan fiction.
Have you been
You know what that is?
I've been using it in the last week.
You know what that is, guys? That's like a few people who had heard of it, and I would still hazard to a guess to say that the vast majority of people listening to this, the vast majority of people out there in the world, the English-speaking world, have never heard that word.
I agree, but we're not the majority.
The few that have are like, oh my, what? They have not, I must type and let them know just how stupid they are, and they are inferior to me. It's like, what?
We might need a Patreon poll.
Yeah, I would like a Patreon poll. Let's do a Patreon poll. Fuck to the yes. It's not a word that's widely used, and everyone needs to settle the fuck down. How about that?
I unironically used the word quixotic today in an email, and I feel good about it.
This is troubling. Fanfiction by Abby Kitzmiller on Facebook.
Anderson's quixotic. My God, I've never met a more quixotic person.
Wait, what?
Never mind. Keep going.
Abby stepping on something I'm sure Brian's about to flick fast. The greatest night in pop.
Oh, we're gonna save that.
Nothing groundbreaking here, but if you're a fan of 80s music, there's a lot of great tidbits. If not, it's worth it to watch Bob Dylan be the most uncomfortable person to ever exist. That does not surprise me.
Can I just ask real quick, my buddy Brian over there?
Yeah, what do you want to know?
What caused you to say, you know what? I need to watch this We Are the World documentary fluff piece immediately. Like what?
It was on my list of Sundance movies. There, that's the answer. Go ahead, Avery.
That's a great answer. And I
was
have
going to
nothing
say,
but I mean, it's just like
I got
why?
you.
Okay, let's you know what? Let's continue. Why in the fuck would that be on your Sundance?
It's you know what? In as much as I could have put 3 or 4 music docs on there, I just wanted the one that was the most cotton candy, and it delivered.
Yeah, there's nothing there for me. I don't. It's just going to be an absolute fluff piece with archival footage.
Flex
Like
that
this
next week.
this is what happened.
I need you
Here's
to
what
see it.
happened, and
I need
here's
you
some
to
footage of what happened.
I'm gonna need you to watch it. I'm also gonna need you to grab a hold of your friend Mike Carano. Grab him by the lapels there and tell him he must watch it.
Well, he doesn't wear lapels, so we're all out there.
Carano's going to tell a story how he was somehow there for the taping.
There, I seriously want to
covered
camera,
it.
guys.
With his footage.
Actually have that on 8mm. Joseph Cherry on Facebook. Nimona on Bald's recommendation.
Oh, here
Not
we go.
disappointed. Could be
Yes.
seen as a fairly preachy if you let yourself get distracted by that sort of thing, but no more so than most movies in this genre. See Zootopia. It's trying to teach a lesson to kids about acceptance and friendship. The characters are fun and the story is good enough.
The characters are fun. Don't bury that as the lead. And Nimona fucking slaps.
Brian, no, wait, no. We don't say, especially when that's usually used for music and songs. Let's not say that the movie slaps. Okay.
So Nimona was quixotic. That's what we say.
Nimona faps.
It's dystopian. It's just Desperian.
That's it.
It's just
It's popular now.
It's Disturbia.
Hey, we'll be talking about a little Nif fucking Mona later. How about that?
All right.
Dave likes movies on Instagram. Saw Argyle, and it was not good.
Oh, that's what I heard.
I liked all 3 of the Kingsman movies, and this just felt like a watered down PG-13 version of those with even dumber humor. And then Thames X2 on Reddit also saw Argyle, and it was very enjoyable and a
All
stupid
right.
fun. So Thames knows diaspora or diaspora, however the fuck you say it, but he loved Argyle. He's a man of many
He got range.
many conflicting opinions. Very similar to the Melissa McCarthy movie Spy from a few years ago. And while I think Spy was the better film, Argyle is by no means as terrible as people are making it out to be.
Spy
But,
is pretty paint by numbers.
It also oozes
those
Matthew
numbers are
Vaughn's
good.
style
Numbers are 10.
and penchant for cheesy CGI, which probably turns some people off. But if you go in with no expectations other than knowing there's a cat in a backpack, you will be entertained.
Yeah, I think that's it. If you're going in like knowing that Matthew Vaughn's like canon, you're probably gonna be disappointed. If you're just going in going, hey, let's go see that funny, weird cat movie, you'll probably be like pleasantly surprised.
Do we want to guess the FVT score for Argyle?
Going off of what I've learned so far in this episode, I'm gonna say 50.
I would also say 50. I'll go a little higher. I'll say 55.
It is sitting at 44.
I had the right strategy. You went the wrong direction.
Currently sitting at 44.
Brian, you're kind of on fire today. I don't know what's going on. You well rested? What's happening?
I'm not looking at you. I have to set this place up. I'm sitting here in my squalor with no pants.
Oh, so you actually were able to do less than you normally do, which
Yeah,
makes
it's great. I didn't have to expend my energy.
What do you really ever? I mean, you were sitting on the couch. And as soon as we take a break, you go sit on that couch.
That's true. I have a limited bucket, as the kids call it. Battery runs out quick.
I caught up on something. It was very, very, very brief, but this is old news. But I was looking at the docs that were nominated, and I went, none of these are moving the needle. So I'm going to revisit one that I think one was at least nominated that seemed more exciting. I saw Free Solo for the first time.
Yeah, Free Solo won, I think.
I watched that. I watched the first 10 minutes last night with Atticus. And,
Fuck.
Free Solo, the director made something. I think that's up for an
Nyad.
Oscar this year. Oh no, he made Nyad. There you go.
And that was wow, that was a challenging watch.
Free
It was
Solo's
fascinating, but I don't know if I've ever had sweaty palms for the entire 90-minute duration of a movie.
Avery,
Unbelievable.
I saw that in IMAX.
Oh my God.
It was life changing.
You had vertigo.
I can't even imagine.
I
I would
there in the IMAX. It's like you're on that rock with him, and just like, but he's not going to die because but if you didn't know that,
but your primitive monkey brain kind of overrides that, because I knew that the whole time. But even still, you just seeing him up there, without the harness is just terrifying. And I also thought as I was watching this, this might make the list for me if you ever updated top 5 movies not to smoke to. that would be a difficult watch.
Well, that's
Oh,
funny because we did top
trying to
five
kick the habit.
relentless movies, and this could have very easily made the list.
Yeah.
This is a
No.
fucking white knuckle ride.
But,
I disagree with that, Brian. There's a lot
Really?
of time in this. There's a lot of talking heads. I mean, but when he's on the rock, yeah, for sure. But there's a whole lot of like stuff about him just living in the van and eating with a spatula and his girlfriend.
Even
doesn't
then,
like
I
it.
was fear for his life.
It's very relenting.
Yes, but I would say if you haven't taken the dive, it's on Disney and I believe Hulu as well. So would highly recommend that. Only an hour 40, goes down smooth.
It does.
All right, timely. Thank you.
I think it just showed up on Disney though.
Yeah, it did.
Oh,
That's
is that
why.
true?
That's why I dipped in.
There you go.
Hey, Bri.
Hey, what do you want to know?
Aves, I forgot to bring this up last week, but Brenda, who is a listener to the program, she shared a Reddit story with me a few weeks ago, which I'm like, I don't have time to read this copy and paste fucking Reddit story. What are you doing, Brenda? However, I found myself reading it, and I'll just give you the gist, and it's very funny. It's a guy, I forget where he lives, but he really loves movies, like you and I and Avery do. However, his girlfriend or wife doesn't like the movies. She only likes like series, right? She only likes the
true
bingeable
crime.
stuff.
Yeah.
So this maniac of a guy took the entire trilogy, Back to the Future trilogy,
And he cut it into like
Chopped it
hour-long
up.
segments.
chopped it up into like 22-minute segments, I think, and then
Oh, Jesus.
uploaded it and said, "Hey, we're gonna watch this limited series."
Oh,
and they
that's
binged all
Oh
three
my god!
over the weekend. She loved it, and then he broke it to her that it's actually a trilogy.
It's an all-time classic trilogy.
How great
That's
is that? I don't know-
hilarious.
I don't know
That
if it's true,
has to be
but
a service. That has to be a service where you can have your significant other who only watches TV watch movies with you in this
they're
format.
trying that, right? They're trying that because they
Yeah,
did,
with BlackBerry.
they did with BlackBerry, and they did it with that other movie from a couple years ago. It was pointed out to me that Mutton Chop. So what's his name? He did a movie like
Hugh
Australia.
Jackman?
Yeah, Hugh Jackman. He was in a movie that no one saw a couple years ago, and they made that in like a 3 or 4 part. And they changed the date on it too, so it shows up as like a 2023 TV show when it's just a cut
A
up
re-release.
A rehashed movie.
19 movie or something. Yeah,
You gotta
starting.
be really, really against movies if you don't know, if you have no concept of Back to the Future. Like that's kind of one of those movies that transcends generations and
Yeah, that's a good
kids
point.
love it. Well, you really got to be. She must, you know what? Theory. She's a foreigner. She's like from Eastern Europe.
She could be very young.
Yep.
Could be a made up story too. I mean, there's definitely
I like Brian's xenophobic angle.
I'm
far
not
away.
saying. How dare you.
Far away. Yeah, the foreigners.
I'm just saying she was lesser than.
I heard the hard F foreigners. I did hear that. Yeah, it's a movie called a TV show called The Far Away Downs, and I think it had a different name when it originally came out.
No, it's called Love on the Spectrum.
Oh, I have watched all of that.
Yeah.
Is it fantastic?
I was going to make a different joke and it would have been less appropriate.
It was great. Yeah, if you guys have not checked out Love on the Spectrum, there's a new season out which delivers, even though one of the characters really rubs me the wrong way, but it's all
Oh
about
no, which one?
people. It's Danny. It's all about people.
Which one's Danny?
The one that rubs me the wrong way, Brian.
Yeah, but is Danny male?
No, she's a female, and she's all about making love.
Oh,
But it's about people dating on the spectrum, and they also have Down with Love, or I think it's something like that. And it's all about people with Down syndrome on the spectrum. It's the same production company, and it's glorious television. It's just fantastic.
DTF.
Fantastic. It's Down to Fuck? No, Brian. It's good TV. So I don't know why you would have to. Oh, also new Curb, which was okay. It was all right. New Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Fine.
Right. Enough about all that.
This Anderson starts rattling off names of things you watched.
No, I'm just letting people know that there's a lot of people that like Curb Your Enthusiasm, and there's a lot of fucking noise out there, Brian. I'm being a service, and I'm saying, hey, in case you hadn't heard, there's a new Curb Your Enthusiasm season, and the first episode already aired. Right?
Kind of confess the flicks we've seen in the past week. We call it Flick Fashions. First, we were assigned a film. You want to save that? What do you want to do?
Yeah, I don't know if we lead with the obscure, very esoteric, low rent
That's a good point.
1994 documentary, Brian, especially during award season.
Speaking
Based
of
on the
award
title, it
season,
seems racist.
also true. Speaking of award season, we saw Oscar-nominated film. Rustin nominated for Best Actor. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. Let's just get into Rustin. Take it away, Bryan.
Rustin is a 2023 film directed by George C. Wolfe. He, the director of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, starring Coleman Domingo as the, wait for it, titular Bayard Rustin. Also, Amin. Oh, Amal Amin. Sorry, the L looks like an I. Glenn Turman, Jeffrey Wright's in there, Chris Rock, and Davine Joy Randolph, who was so great in The Holdovers, is also in this. 85% Rotten Tomatoes. You can stream this right now on Netflix if you choose. Like we said, nominated for Best Actor, Coleman Domingo as the titular Rustin. Thoughts, Anderson and Rustin?
He was great. No surprise there. He's up for Best Actor. I've loved him. I've liked him in everything I've seen him in. He is a very, very good actor. I didn't know he had this much range in him.
Yeah, he's a lot of range.
He was unrecognized.
I thought it was a revelation. I like you said, didn't know this was in him.
And ultimately, though, the movie was very paint by numbers and asked me to feel things that I was incapable of feeling at times. I was lost at times because there was so much story going on. I don't know if there needed to be that much story. And honestly, I would have liked the movie to be boiled down a little bit more to just like the Jeffrey Wright character and Rustin getting into it, because that was the best scene in the entire movie for me when they were going back and forth. And Jeffrey Wright is just so great, right? And everything.
So right.
And I liked that. Chris Rock was a bit of a stretch, distracting, and ultimately it was a good movie. It was a story that should have been told a while ago. I just don't I don't know if it was put together in the way that spoke to me. But
I've been calling this Martin Luther Green Book. That's how it felt to me.
I wasn't as bad as Green Book as far as,
but it's in that DNA. It's got the feel good DNA and kind of glossing over some of the heavier topics.
Yeah, it felt like it was made for a
broad brushy. Yeah.
Now, so y'all go the opposite direction and say, while I do see a crossover with Green Book, I think Green Book's better in the sense that it's, I don't know a better term, more cinematic. This felt like a very good TV movie. You know what I mean? Like Anderson said, paint by numbers. While Coleman Domingo was really good, the rest of the movie was serviceable. It was a movie that like your mom would call and say like, "Oh, I just saw the most amazing movie," and you're like, "Really?"
Yeah, it feels like it's made for older people, perhaps older white people. And don't get me wrong, I didn't hate Green Book. I just thought that it was kind of the wrong message at the wrong time, and there was a lot of missteps, and it was hilarious to me that the Academy thought, "Hey, look," because that was when they were all in the hot water for being racist.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, look, we're gonna nominate this movie," and then there's a bunch of backlash about how it was portrayed, and that delighted me. That delighted me.
I was surprised I had never heard of this guy before at all.
Rustin,
never heard his name.
That's
what
the whole point of the movie is about, right? Is that he didn't really.
Oh yeah, I agree. Though I was only vaguely aware of him.
No, you weren't aware of him at all, Bryan.
I heard the name, but I couldn't tell you what I did.
Not yet.
Really?
Let's just be honest.
Bryan. He's actually mentioned in the documentary we saw this week.
Oh yeah, he is.
Did you catch that?
Yes, maybe that's why you'd heard of him.
No,
seen that documentary first.
Actually, no, it's not a documentary afterwards. I will say this: we did a whole top 5 about this years ago. Maybe we should update it. Making tense drama out of like recent history is hard. You know what I mean? Like, what's the stakes in this movie? What are we fearing for the main character? What are we? Well, like the march is going to go off, and we're perfectly aware of that.
It was his involvement in him being disgraced before having
I get that.
I think that was the main thing that they hung their hat on as far as.
Well, I think the movie. Sorry to interrupt you, Anderson. I think the movie made a mistake by making it so much about, is this march going to go off? Is it going to happen? Versus what you said, which I agree. That's the central drama. Like, this guy's life and reputation is at stake, right? Like
I hear what you're saying. Everything. I think it was trying to. I mean, obviously the march went off, and you'd have to like not have heard of Back to the Future to not know about that.
There you go.
I think what it was trying to show was just what an impossible feat he pulled off. How much work he do it, how it was all him, and how his reputation could make, not at all for naught, but he could have ended up becoming like publicly disgraced as a result of him just trying to put this thing together. Like, he put his neck out there.
Well, I know we sort of take it for granted that it happened because we know it did. You got to see the hardships of that, just like we kind of take it for granted the moon landing happened.
Right.
That almost didn't, and it took a lot of steps happening in like perfect unison for this to get pulled off. So I actually kind of found that compelling, because in my mind it was always like, yeah, everybody just headed there. It was, how hard could it be to plan that? And you go, well, incredibly difficult.
Sure. I agree. I just say there's a big chasm between like this and like, speaking of the moon landing, Apollo 13, where
Yeah.
it's an outcome we're more or less familiar with, and yet they made a really, really good, tense drama out of it.
This movie was okay. It never got its hooks in me. He was great, but he would have been great, in a better movie as well. I would have liked this movie more if it was a little bit better. I was trying to figure out his tooth too. I didn't do a ton of research. I didn't go down the rabbit hole, but
Well, no, they explain that.
no, I understand his character,
Oh.
but like him as an actor, did
Oh,
he,
the prosthetics or the blackout or whatever it was.
it was very good. It looked very real. So I don't know if
It was upsetting every time you saw it.
it really was. But yeah, a great performance, and I can't recommend this movie to a bunch of people though.
I was going to say, do people need to run out and see this? Probably only if you're a completionist, right?
Or if you're like a sophomore in high school, get stoked if you're gonna like watch this movie in class for like Black History Month or something.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah.
This is a good way to pass 90 minutes.
We have a lot of sophomores listening.
Well, I'm talking to the teachers. Like they should make that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Smart. Good pivot. Yeah, it's a melodramatic at times, but not bad. Just not great.
I take
All
a
right.
quick break, and then we will get to Bryan. You have not seen Nyad yet, have you?
Maybe I have.
Oh, I would like to do that next if you're capable.
We'll see. All right, coming next. Maybe Nyad, maybe not.
Play so hard to get.
Stick around. Hey, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. We appreciate that, you guys. All right, time to talk Nyad. Anderson sprung it on me, but luckily for you, I saw Nyad. Nyad is a 2023 film directed by Elizabeth Chai Vesarhelyi, and Jimmy Chin, director of, that's right, Free Solo, starring Annette Bening as, wait for it, the titular Diana. Diane or Diana?
It was Diana, I think.
Okay. Jodie Foster's in there as well. Reese Ifans, who we like so much, nominated for Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress. This is at 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. I believe I streamed this on Netflix, and you can do the same now if you so choose. Anderson, what compelled you to watch Nyad?
Well, it's something that's been told to me to have seen since it came out. My buddy Rand, who I trust, he really enjoyed this movie. Right when it came out, he saw it in theaters. I think he's like, "Trust me, catch up with this one when it's time." So I'm like, "All right, put that in the bonnet." And then when I see that she's up for Best Actress, I give you shit for watching like Oscar nominations, but I try and see like the big heavy hitters at least. And
Sure.
I'm not going to see something just because it's up for Best Score or best even supporting actor or actress necessarily. But when it's when she's up, and I like her a lot. I like the old Benning, so I took a dive. As horrifying as that poster looks,
Take a dive.
what's that?
Oh, the poster looks inaccessible.
It looks unacceptable. It looks indefensible.
What poster are you talking about?
Just the one that you see if you click on it, right?
Is it on Netflix or on like Wikipedia? 'Cause I'm looking at her.
IMDb. I think it's across the board. They decided this is the poster we're going with to market this film, even though it's going to scare away pretty much every single person with a wiener. Will be terrified of this movie. Right? Am I speaking out of turn?
My wiener's just inverted,
Do you see
I'm
what I'm talking
imagining that on the poster.
which is normally how it is.
Now this poster actually is quite it's representative of what the movie is ultimately about, right? It's these two, and they're both fantastic. It's just that poster, if you don't know these two characters and you have no context, it's a tough poster to look at. As much as
It's not inviting. It's not an inviting poster.
no, it's not. They're like looking at you going, "Why the fuck haven't you watched this yet, huh?"
It's not. Well, yeah, they're judging you.
There's judgment going on, right? You see
Poster was
judgment?
published after the Oscars came out. Like, oh, now you're catching up.
Yeah, they would love Rustin though. This is the Rustin demographic.
The Rustin crowd, yeah, you can double feature this one.
That's how you get them to smile. It's
That
just
said-
talk about Rustin.
Rust in peace.
This movie is a far superior movie to Rustin. Far superior. This movie got its hooks in me. This movie was an amazing story about the triumph of the human spirit and the need to do and the need to run from your past, Bryan. And I think maybe the most interesting thing that I found and why I like this movie so much was it was not what you would expect as far as just she was very unsympathetic. Very unsympathetic.
That's true. That's interesting. So are you being serious?
I like this movie a lot. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad. It's a good movie and it's enjoyable, for sure. I found it very much like your assertion of Rustin, very paint by numbers to the point where I was like, all right, well, she's not going to make it this time. They haven't fulfilled the formula. This is a very formulaic movie. Now, it works in the way that like those Disney sports movies of like the last decade worked, right?
I don't think you're being
Arm
fair.
Or Eddie the Eagle. Like, no, I'm saying it's good. I don't think it's great, but it's enjoyable. It's got a winning quality of a sports film. It's got a winning formula. I can see why people like it.
No, I think you're not being fair to it. You know how a number of movies came out this year that we had problems with, namely Maestro and Napoleon, and there was a third one I think where they're spending so much time with the private life and not enough
Right.
time. What made this?
Why
person,
do we care about this person, or why
Right,
are we
like
making a movie of
the
this
only
person?
reason why this person is worthy of having a movie made about them all these years later is because of what they did, and we don't get to see what they did. We just have to see what they did behind closed doors, which is boring as all get out. So this movie did not do that to a fault. Everything that was behind closed doors that we found out about her past was very interesting, and it was enmeshed and intertwined in a very clever, smart way that was not formulaic. And we got to see her do what she's known for a lot, like a whole bunch in this movie.
I think you and I are saying different things, which is, yes, this movie avoided some of the pitfalls that we have seen in a lot of recent films, but it undeniably follows a very, very formulaic script of sports movies. Like
Be careful with that because I didn't know how this thing ended, and I would
Christ.
imagine what. Why'd you say that? I'm
Never
just
mind.
confused as to why. Are you suggesting that everyone knows Nyad's story?
No. I'm suggesting there's only one way a movie like this
That's
can end.
not true at all. This woman, no matter
how does it end?
Now we're kind of
She's
getting
eaten by sharks.
look. This, no matter what, if she did get eaten by a shark, this movie would have been made probably 20 years ago, or I guess it hasn't been 20 years, but this movie would have been made 5 years ago. Like this woman and what she attempted to do was worthy of a movie, regardless of how it ended.
Agree.
So then, what are you talking about? How
I'm
would
saying
you know
the movie that is made that we have in front of us is a good, enjoyable, but very standard sports movie.
I disagree. I think that there's a lot more with the trauma that was entwined. I think her character was very complex and, like I said, unsympathetic and very narcissistic and self-aggrandizing.
You're describing Eddie the Eagle like it's a main character who
Eddie and the Eagle is fucking great. I love it. It was not a paint by number run-of-the-mill sports movie. I mean, what you're describing is like Mighty Ducks or something, which is also great. I mean,
I was gonna say, Anderson, both things can be true. Like there can be a standard sports movie without deviation from the tropes, but it can also be good and enjoyable and satisfying. I think that's what this is. Wait, how many stars do you have this at?
I'd give this a solid 4 stars. Now, there's a scene in there that it made me like really want to turn it off and flee the room. I was embarrassed of myself for sitting in front of it, and that was the Taj Mahal scene. Like every fiber of my body just wanted to explode. I hated it so much. It was so lame is the best word, I guess. Cringy. Do you recall?
Yes, she was hallucinating. Actually,
I
didn't like that scene, but I like that aspect of the movie that deals with what I find to be the most interesting thing about her, which is she does this isolating, solo, monotonous thing for hours and hours and hours on end. And it's like your mind must turn to mush.
Oh, it absolutely.
That said, the scene you're describing is a little clunky.
Yeah, it was very clunky. There's so many ways they could have gone about that, and I did not like that one at all. And the type of person that would react to that positively is like my mom, which I love. I love my mom. We just don't see eye to eye when it comes to art. I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of giving you a lot of pushback because I think I like this movie more than you, and I think that there are some problems with this movie, but calling it formulaic, I don't know if that would be at the forefront. The story,
it's completely formulaic.
as far as
As far
okay,
I'll drill down and say it follows all the tropes and hallmarks and signposts of a sports movie. It doesn't deviate at all from what you expect it to do.
I guess so, but that didn't even bother me because it was
It didn't
also
bother me. I still enjoyed
it's a
it.
true story, and like a lot of the time, it doesn't get to be made into a movie unless it follows that. You know what I'm
I
saying?
understand. Like it's similar to Miracle, which I still liked. Like it's similar to Ed of the Eagle, which I still liked. It's got those markers. It's that movie.
I mean, it's a formulaic movie in the sense of just 3 acts as well, and like you're right when the end of Act 2 is when she's farthest away from her goal. So,
That's true.
but I don't know. And then the biggest problem I have with this movie, other than the Taj Mahal scene, is her as a little girl. So if you have not seen this, you're going to take the plunge, part of the pun,
Yeah, I
and you
didn't need
watch.
any of that. I didn't need much of that.
I didn't mind that. I mean, it was important, I think, to explain because the type of person, just in case you have no idea what we're talking about, Nyad's a little bit under the radar. Nyad's a true story of a woman named Nyad who swam. She
She's a distance
she was
swimmer.
26 years old, a long distance swimmer. When she was 26 years old, she tried to do what no one had ever done before, and that's swim for 2 days straight from Cuba to Florida. And
No. Oh, sorry. Keep going. You're right. Keep going.
and she failed. And then smash cut to 30 years later.
Well, sorry. In the interim, she had swam the English Channel. She was a very famous long distance swimmer. But yes, this Cuba to Florida has been her
It
white
was
whale,
her
right?
white whale, yes. And it bothered her all these years later. And the type of person that would think, hey, it's been 30 plus years since I failed doing this as a 26-year-old. I'm going to get back in the water and start doing this again. They're trying to prove something. They got some trauma. There's something happening in their life. And I think it was
I think they're trying to prove something to themselves.
right. I think it's important to get to the bottom of who that person is, what makes that person up, like as a human being, because that's not something that I would ever aspire to do. She at one point she talks about a song that's in what is it, four parts. She's talking about a Rolling Stones song that she's going to play in her head 10,000
Oh
times.
yeah,
Something
there's a
during the
lot of
journey.
classic rock in this movie.
No, but that's not the point. The point is that she was going to play it in her head 10,000 times throughout her journey. I might have the numbers wrong, so that she could do her stroke to it and keep in time. And anyone who's capable of doing that is a little bit mad. Is a little bit,
Sure.
not a little bit. Like there's something going on, for lack of a better term. And Drew hates it, but like she has some demons, right? There's something going on there.
There's
And
something. Her metronome is set differently.
if they didn't get to the bottom of any of that, like it would be a huge miss. And they did get to the bottom of that, and I saw it coming a little bit, but I thought it was interesting, and I felt like there's a very honest portrayal of a woman who's still alive, who I'm sure had something to do with this movie, and they make her seem like a very despicable monster at times, which I appreciated the honesty there.
Yes, I agree.
I think the worst
The
part,
movie was populated with colorful characters top to bottom, including her, including Jodie Foster, including the captain, the Reese Evans character. I enjoyed them all.
really nice seeing Jodie as Jodie again too. I haven't seen Jodie like playing that fun, Jodie. She's always very like she's been dour and like kind of angry.
Speaking of which, new True Detective, very much dour.
Dour, yeah. She's
Avery
like fun.
jumps in with TV Vault.
She's fun here. It's Jodie Foster. Like we haven't seen her in a little while, but one of the most distracting things in this movie, and if you have not seen it, you're going to. I do recommend this movie. Is there's a lot of flashbacks to what turned out to be her childhood, which I thought was her childhood, but I was doubting myself and thinking that because she has a father who has a thick accent, right?
He is I believe he's a South American man.
And the little girl is also like olive skin with dark hair, looks nothing like Annette Bening. And I was confused. I thought that maybe it was a girl who lived in Cuba and she also wanted to swim.
He was Greek, I think. Sorry.
The whole point, I thought maybe they were suggesting like the two nations were close, and there's a little girl who had a similar dream on the island of Cuba, and she at the same time was thinking like it was distractingly confusing. And I don't know why they cast such a different looking little girl in that role when we saw the real Nyad at the end, and she looked a lot like Annette Bening and nothing like that little girl. So I don't know what that was about.
That was a poor choice. Perhaps they should have picked Elaine for that character, young and old, and stuck to it. Because there were times where I was never confused. I was like, this is a very unlikely character.
Well, it's unlikely casting.
Yes, unlikely to be the person we're supposed to be looking at.
But all that said, this is a very good formulaic movie.
Was the nomination warranted, do you think?
For her, Jodie, not so much, but Annette Bening, yeah, she's.
See, I thought Jodie was better than Annette.
I thought Annette was better than Jodie.
Either way,
At first, like the first few scenes, the first act, maybe Jodie kind of felt like she was acting.
either way, I think the Margot Robbie apologists have a point because this is not clearly better. I don't even know that it is marginally better. It's a
Acting?
Yeah, for sure.
And Margot is Barbie.
Yes.
I couldn't disagree with that sentiment.
Really?
Yeah, she immersed herself in this, and she was completely a different person. I cannot see Annette Bening in there very much at all. And she had to go through quite a bit of hell too, which I think they'd take into account how much she was in the water, all the acting she had to do in the water, and she transformed. And Margot Robbie,
she was good.
Was playing like a long form SNL character effectively, but I mean, she was just doing this cutesy I'm Barbie thing for 2 hours, which
she was showing some range though.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I
cried a little bit.
Nuanced.
But I would not. No,
it was may have done a rewatch this week. It was effective.
My wife saw it. She's like, the whole movie's about Ken, and he's by far the best part. So like, what the fuck?
Well, I'm not disagreeing with that.
I know.
Ironic.
It's like Pink. We are women. Here's roar, and then their movie ends up being more about the Ken doll than about Barbie, which is a good point that Jillian brought up.
Kind of made me proud to we live in Ken land. It's pretty
Thank
good.
God. Welcome to Mojo Dojo Casa House.
I like that Nyad. I liked it quite a bit.
Sublime.
Were you surprised, Brian, that they showed warts and all with her? Like, it could have been real easy to just show her as a strong female character who has this, mission, and she wants to prove to the world that she can do it. And they didn't even make it really about like females versus males, and they definitely did not make her a fluffy.
No, I like that that character was flawed. I like that she was a bit prickly. Like,
very
she wasn't
flawed.
warm and fuzzy, and you didn't necessarily even like her that much. I was rooting for her. I mean, I wanted her to succeed. I want to hang out with her.
Right. Like, I would not want to. And it's the real her that you see at the end, like in the TED Talks and all that. Like, she seemed like much more likable than what Annette Bening did. So
that's true.
I wonder how that went down when she's at the premiere and she's watching this thing. She's like, wow, they really made me out to be a bitch.
Well, that's also her public face, right? In fact, you must have seen it all the time in showbiz where there's people who
everyone
nice in public, and then in private,
no, they're all
not so much.
They're all the best.
Ever can I talk to you off the air?
I'm just surprised that they would go in that direction, because I mean, it doesn't really. I mean, I appreciate it, but I mean, I think the general audience would like it much more if she was cute and cuddly or just strong and just more likable, right? Like, it would have been easier, I think, to market this movie had she been just a strong, likable female character.
But we got what we got, and I appreciated that.
I think it was honest. I think it was an honest depiction. All right. Well cast too. I mean, when you see the two of them at the end, like I was just looking at those two for the entire 2 hours, right?
Yeah, I mean, they one or both of them is in every frame, right?
Well, what I'm saying is they embodied the actual characters, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying you were staring at them for 2 hours.
I wish I liked Rustin this much. Rustin had some moments that were really popped, but then I'd be like, okay, there's too many politics. And another problem with Rustin is I didn't feel like Rustin cared as much, and maybe I'm wrong,
as you did.
He didn't care as much about and I know this is what they're going for, and it was supposed to be that he cared more about the march being successful as he did about his own reputation. But at times I felt like his own reputation was actually more important to him with the way that he reacted. He reacted more profoundly when he was accepted than he did when the march actually went off without a hitch.
That makes sense.
Does it though? Because it feels like that's not very
the movie had problems. I'm not going to argue that. You want
to put it bluntly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I also I had a couple pops I was watching, and that was the right call for sure. It smoothed over a lot of the rougher edges.
Okay.
It does feel it's one of those. Have a couple drinks. Watch this with leftovers at Thanksgiving. That's where this belongs.
Jeffrey
Yeah,
was
it's
great.
you gotta be down to the diaspora. Anderson, you want me to talk Saltburn for 5 minutes?
You already did. I thought you haven't
I
sold.
did. We have talks about it on and off, but a proper
Wait a
reflection.
minute. You talked Saltburn. You did a fault. No, we're not doing Saltburn.
The salt bean, right?
Didn't you do Saltburn like 2 weeks ago?
I really don't think I did. I have no notes on it.
Where did
Avery?
salt bean come from then?
You know what it was?
We were talking about Saltburn.
I think it was like the week that you lost your notes or something and you were distressed.
Oh,
You
He was
definitely, we
distressed.
talked about the bathtub. We talked about all that.
you all right? Maybe.
If it make you feel good, go ahead.
No,
but
no. I
don't know
know.
what
Hey,
Saltburn
listen,
needs to
let's
be.
work for me. I feel bad if I did it already. I don't know.
Avery,
I can't. I feel like he did, but
Okay,
because
hey,
I feel
listen.
like there were several times we talked about Saltburn.
For a movie that got 0 Oscar nominations, I don't want to spend that much time on it.
it's not culturally relevant, so it's not
Thank you.
worthy of talking about as far as Brian's concerned. All right. Go ahead. Do Saltburn. Let's see.
You prefer the bathtub or the grave scene, Brian? Which was more erotic to you?
I gotta be honest. I do not believe I flex it unless I didn't include my notes. Let's just do it real quick. Saltburn's 2023 film, written and directed by what? Sorry.
Did Christy see Saltburn? Did you subject her to this?
I know. Thank God it was just me. You didn't see Saltburn with it, did you? Okay, good. Smart. Written and directed by Emerald Fennell, directress of Promising Young Woman,
Not directed.
starring Barry Keoghan, Jacob Elordi, Rosamund Pike, Richard E. Grant, Carey Mulligan. 71% Rotten Tomatoes is streaming on Amazon Prime. Like I mentioned, 0 Oscar nominations, which got some headlines at the moment when it was announced that it had not been nominated in any one category. Yes,
Snubbed.
it was snubbed indeed. I
did the sound effect in the bathtub to say it was snubbed.
I
Please.
found the
remember there.
so I don't know what to call this trope, but the trope of like infiltrating the rich person's life, right? Like Talented Mr. Ripley. It had a lot of crossover there, at least the beginning.
Yeah, it had a lot of DNA from that.
And I wonder if that's just, I don't know if that's unique to those two films. I don't know if it's, a trope that exists across the board. I've not explored that.
Maybe a little Catch Me If You Can. At
Was it
times.
Bodies? Didn't that have a little bit in there? Wasn't there somebody there that wasn't?
Yeah, I guess like that imposter syndrome, infiltrating the rich or infiltrating
Triangle of Sadness had a little touch of
that life that you want to, I guess, not even
A little fake it till you make it a little bit.
the menu might even be up there because what's your
felt very Bret Easton Ellis.
didn't really belong there. Yeah, a little less than 0, right?
Hmm.
All right. Anyway, yes, the bathtub scene disgusting. The character motivation seemed tenuous. I mean,
What?
the character motivation, and I appreciate that they gave the ending that it had, but I found myself being like, why? I mean, I guess ultimately why is he wants to be rich, but like this is a very elaborate scheme. I don't know. It's
You're dangerously taptoeing on that edge, Brian. I think you had to back off.
I'm trying not to.
Like the final sequence, Brian's dancing around it.
Take a
That's
flop.
true.
Well, this led me to have a long discussion with Atticus in the car. So that's always good when like a movie or an idea can lead you to a discussion with your child. And
So you said to him, "Hey, boy, here's what we just watched. What do you think?"
No, I didn't talk about the movie, but the conversation was spurred on by my thoughts about the movie for sure.
Okay.
I don't
What
think
was
it's a conversation we would have had had I not watched the movie and got thinking about it. But I was telling him there's only 4 ways that I can think of getting rich in this world, and there's only 4 that I can think of. And
Let's hear it.
one is to watch Saltburn and to, pick up on all the cues that he lays down for us.
Sure.
No, one is to work really hard. I said that's the best way. That's the most honest way, and that's also the way that you will see people get rich most often. The other way is to be born into it, right? You're born into it.
Inherit that life.
And we had a long discussion about that and how most of the time that doesn't look great on a person. And usually those people have chips on their shoulder and they feel like they're not worthy, and that makes them even more jerks and entitled.
Or they spin out the wrong direction.
And then
too much too soon.
Third way is is
You get lucky.
be lucky. That's right, Avery. To be lucky. And that's not the best way. It's not the greatest game plan to try and be rich. Is to just hope for luck. That's not going to get you very far. Most people will not make it there if that's their life's plan. And then finally,
Please.
steal.
Oh, just straight robbery.
Yeah,
Fuck people over.
Yeah. So I think this was kind of a look at like, the ultra elite, how they get there, and it covered a few of those.
Yeah, interesting. The movie didn't add up to much for me. It was I saw the same time I saw Poor Things, and I have thought about Poor Things much more than Saltburn. So here we are. I don't want to spend too much time, but it's time to put it to bed.
I like Saltburn quite a bit, more than you did. However, I did have many, many problems with it, and I came up with a fix that I think might make it one of my.
Oh yeah,
favorite
did you ever
movies.
say what it was?
But we'd have to do that on a spoiler, and it's not like I'm changing, reinventing the wheel with my fix, but it's a pretty simple fix. But I could
So it changed the main character to a cop, put him in L.A. He's in for New York. The building he's in gets taken over by terrorists.
Do you want to make this movie Die Hard?
Yeah, that'd be great.
No, that wasn't my fix, but
Okay.
All right. Hey, since you're doing it, I'm going to do the thing that I fucking hate. You know what? And I felt guilty. I felt a little guilty because I give you so much shit about, redoing a movie. But now seeing that you just redid a movie a second time, making
I
that
don't think
third,
I did.
Bryan, you did. Third time that we flickfest Saltburn, I feel way less guilty and hypocritical when I'm bringing in Nimona.
Please.
Yeah. Fucking Mona. Nimona managed to transcend Bryan's glowing review to a place where
I was worried that I oversold it, and you come in here grousing.
I love me some Nimona. And now
How great is the character of Nimona?
Nimona fucking rules. All the characters all around them, the themes, the messages. Yes, some of them are a little bit over the top for animated movie, and I would say, I can see people pointing and yelling woke and whatnot. Hey, it all goes along with the themes that were at the crux of this movie, which is all about outliers and outsiders and misunderstanding and judging books by their cover. And I related to this movie. I locked in on this movie. I locked in on its themes and the way that the movie was put together. I was choked up throughout most of the third act. I absolutely love Nimona. Love it.
Did Atticus watch it with you?
He did.
Did he enjoy it?
The wife watched it as well. All three of us.
Oh, nice. Was it a hit amongst the Cowan family?
It was. I mainly just got a bunch of shit from my wife for crying, and she caught me at the end, and I was asking Atticus if he was crying, and he was saying no, he wasn't crying at all. But then they were asking me why I was crying, and I had to kind of leave the room. So that's where the discussion ended. But yeah, this movie got me. It got me good, and it's the production company. They used to be all over the place. Independent.
Yes, I looked at the credits, and I'm like, these are not remarkable movies.
Aperperna. No, they were kind of like the A24 for a minute. And from my understanding, it was like one woman who had a bunch of money and she just made films that she believed in. And I don't think that they made a whole lot of money sometimes, but Aperperna,
Is it Annapurna?
Annapurna. Thank you. Annapurna. And yeah, they were big. I'm not a big production, movie production guy, like where I know, you know, to sound like I miss Draft House. Of course, we know Blumhouse. A24 is like the only game in town. Miramax, some of these, but it's not like I do deep dives on any of these. I just know that we used to see Annapurna quite a bit, and it was nice to see Annapurna for the first time, especially before a movie that this feels like it's a movie that would have been pitched to Disney, and Disney would have given it a resounding like way too edgy for us. No, thank you. So it was like a Disney movie made for adults, which
Can she be a little sweeter?
What's that?
Can she be a little sweeter?
Is there any way we can make her a little thinner so we can, make more?
Can we get her a dress?
Happy Meal toys out of her. Can we get her a dress? I mean, from the moment that an arm was cut off early on was, beyond what Disney would allow. Which creeps me out when adults are so into Disney. And of course, Disney has a lot to offer, but when it's adults who are just, over the moon about Disney, when there are movies that are a little bit more challenging and maybe a little edgier, for lack of a better term. For the most part, every joke landed. Like 9 out of 10 jokes fucking nailed it for me on this.
Nimona's a joke a minute.
She's fantastic. This was like Red Panda, but good. I love this movie.
Turning red.
Turning red, but a
Red
good
Bandit.
version of it. Yes. It's
Did
just
you?
funny jokes and just good one-liners and just
Yes.
solid,
I was laughing out loud throughout much of the movie.
as was I, until I was crying silently the last half. Just how they nailed loneliness. Like nothing. I don't think I've seen a movie that nails loneliness as well as this one did. At least not
Not in a fun way.
yeah. So this movie
Did
is,
you agree with my assertion? Number one, the movie is it's fine until Namano shows up, then it like jumps up a level.
oh yeah. I mean, that's why she's the
Yeah, but I'm saying there's a good almost the
Brian.
first
I
half
set you up
until
to say
she
titular, and you just
oh
fucking
sorry.
steamrolled.
Eponymous.
Yeah, that's why she's the name of the movie, Brian, because
Right.
she's the best part of the movie. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was good. I mean, the arm got cut off, and you're kind of wondering, you could see that he was going to get set up. You could tell something was going on. A little bit telegraphed. I mean, Jillian immediately is like, explaining who the villain is. It's like, okay, I think settle down.
Yeah, I think Chrissy did the same thing.
Got a 7-year-old in the room who doesn't know yet, so it's not like we got to like telegraph that to him when it is fairly telegraphed.
And the only I don't even know if I call it a weakness. I would just call it not as strong. The third act for me was good. I think it lost some momentum. But what do you think?
No, that's where it really sung for me. That's
Really
where it really
good.
it stuck the landing, as my buddy Greg would say. And it's tropey in the sense, like, those all the movies of the 80s that we grew up with in like the early 90s, where it's like the government trying to get ET to do experiments on them and maybe use them
As a
as
weapon.
military. So yeah, short circuit. Like it had that in there.
Alien.
It wasn't the let's get them to use them for our military purposes. It was like, let's just use our military purposes to just obliterate this thing at any cost at all, because it's different and we don't understand it, which
Fair
just,
amount of collateral damage.
yeah. And I think that it's just the subtext there and just how people react to one another and things that are different and overreaction. It's just, yeah, it really spoke to me a lot. This movie,
Avery, forget about Rustin. Have a couple of pops and watch the Mona.
I'm intrigued.
and the facial expressions that they gave her were like, a lot of the time, there's a couple times where it's like, oh, that facial expression didn't really line up for what I was hoping there. But for the most part, like a lot of cartoons, a lot of animated movies like that, the facial expressions are over the top and too much. But for the most part, her facial expressions were unexpected and perfect.
Yeah, and you know what? I agree. And there's a repeating joke where like something gnarly will happen and she'll just go metal. But like that shouldn't have worked, but I laughed when she said metal. Like she was like so enamored with like someone being disemboweled or something.
Yeah, she was great. She's fantastic. And they could have, once again, much like Nyad, they could have made her a lot more cute and cuddly and marketable, but they did not.
I'm sure those are notes, from the studio. Like we make her a little more cute.
So it's kind of sad that this one got swept under the rug. If it wasn't for the Oscars and I hate to say it, but you bringing it to the program last week, I don't know if I would have seen it on I would have seen it on Netflix, but that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean?
This is my Wild Tales.
It kind of is.
I know.
There's no way this thing's not in one of my top 10 favorite movies of the year. There's just no fucking way. I love this movie.
Well, let me ask you this. Having not seen everything nominated for Best Animated Feature, does this stand a chance to win the Oscar?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, Elemental probably will. What are the others?
Oh, this is so much better than
Of course
Elemental.
it is, but what else is up?
Spider-Verse is up there.
Spider-Verse,
Spider-Verse wins.
Boy in the Heron, and
Boy in the Heron's not good.
we'll go to Robot Dreams, which I've not seen.
Was that ever in theaters? I saw a preview for that in some movie recently, and
On
Maybe.
Just Watch, it says in theaters now, but I couldn't tell you.
All right, let's move it along.
Black is, Black ain't.
Black is ... ellipses. Black ain't.
Is a 1995 film directed by
94.
Marlon Riggs, 100% Rotten Tomatoes, 5 out of 5. I had Anderson. I got my ass down to the library, got myself a library card, came home, watched this on Canopy.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Finally, yeah, you're going to use that canopy a lot. That's a fine service.
I probably
Fine.
will. But now I'm officially a member streaming on a canopy, and I think that's kind of it. Like that's your only choice.
That's correct. It's on Criterion. Or then, anyways, this is brought to us by Tomas. Are you giving credit where credit's due?
No, I'm not. I think it's only available via the Criterion like discs. I don't think it's on the Criterion app. I remember looking a while back.
I'm just telling you, that's where Thomas Kustermann found it. I was asking him how he found this movie. It's very off the radar. Doesn't even have 500 ratings on IMDb, I don't think, and it's been out for 30 years. So this is a very small movie.
You know what it does, Anderson? It explores the African diaspora. It actually does. I will say that I found the bit like very of the time 1994 production charming. Like I liked it was on video, I assume, and it was rough around the edges. This is not by any means a slick documentary. It's a little bit rough, and I enjoyed that.
It's very rough. I mean, this is what most documentaries looked like back then. Most documentarians were using consumer grade video and handheld and 4x3. It boxy. That's what documentaries looked like back then. So I think that this one would be kind of cast aside. I was talking to Tomas, and there's no way that I don't think you and I can boil down to like a brief review of this movie what Tomas and I talked about for probably 30 minutes or so earlier today. And Tomas is a fantastic fellow. I really do. I say this all the time, week in, week out, but I really like our listeners who are on the assigner level. Talking to them is always one of the highlights of my day, and that was definitely the case with Tomas. He lives in Switzerland, so there was a bit of a time difference. He was walking his dog, his Labrador, on the dark streets of Zurich when I spoke with him via video chat, and we had a very interesting conversation about Black Is, Black Ain't. This is a documentary I can't recommend to many people, and I also don't feel super comfortable as a white male talking about it because it's not. That's one of the great things about this movie is the white lens barely even gets mentioned here. It's all about the Black identity from within the Black community, and
that's true. It was illuminating in that respect.
Yes, I totally agree, and there was a whole lot of accountability as far as how this is 30 years ago, mind you. This is before like Lil Nas and some other prominent gay Black artists have come on the scene, but
there's still not a ton.
There's not a ton, but I mean, they were close.
It was very much it was very problematic, perhaps, in the diaspora to be an out gay man. And Marlon Riggs,
well, it still is.
Whatever his name was, I wrote down.
Marlon Riggs.
Yeah, Riggs, that's right.
Who is the director of this? He also died while they were shooting this.
You find out pretty early in the film that he has HIV, which in 1994 is just death sentence, right? Like, open a shot, you will die of this. And
they say he dies during the filming of this.
Yeah, he's getting treatment. We find out pretty early, and that was a very compelling story angle.
It was, and this movie was very interesting, and especially as an outsider looking in, and it was almost like hearing conversations, roundtables of like societies that I'm not a part of or invited to, but I get to hear some of the tragic, everyday like lack of community that some of these gay Black activists feel, that they don't even have a community. It's almost like Avery can probably relate, being half Black and
how
half
dare you
and half gay.
Where out at Avery.
So I found that part fascinating. This is very low rent, and I don't mean that in disrespect, but it was of its time. It's very rough around the edges, and I think that is a bit of a turn off to a lot of people, even me. I want a little more production value with my documentaries, but you don't get it with this. And there's a whole lot of interpretive dance that's occurring that really made me feel uncomfortable. And I did not.
The production value it has, I didn't like.
No, yeah, exactly. The production. However, Marlon Briggs is traipsing through the woods fully naked. And there's a very funny, this documentary doesn't have many light moments, but so he's dying. He knows he's not going to be around for the end of this movie. And you can hear him talking to somebody off screen saying, now you better use a lot of that of me naked in the woods. I want a lot of that footage in here. And then it cuts to him traipsing through the woods naked.
That was good.
Yeah, it was enlightening
For,
to say the
for a
least.
shortish documentary, I touched on a lot, like the black versus colored nomenclature, the naming yourself versus being named by others in terms of what do you call African American slash black slash color. They get into that. Like for generations is different. The Creole thing, like explaining that whole angle of the black culture was, I thought it was really interesting.
I know how to make gumbo way more than I did before I watched this movie. They talk about the art of making gumbo.
I think that was a metaphor.
It was maybe a metaphor, Brian, but also there's a lot of actual ingredients going into that gumbo, which I
That's
picked
true.
up. You can put anything in there, Brian.
Heavily seafood. I ever put canned oysters in my gumbo.
Oysters, and you got the sausage, and they have to let the broth really thicken, but not too thick. Yeah, there's
No, the
also
broth's got to mix with the roux.
30 years ago.
You ever made a roux?
No,
It's a huge fucking pain in the ass.
it sounds very
It's you're basically turning flour into liquid and you are storing for days.
that sounds great.
Sucks.
Ice Cube is quoted, and it's jarring when
Yes,
his quote appears on screen.
Ice Cube doesn't come off too
No.
clean in this film.
And it's funny because it's 30 years ago, and that was a different Ice Cube than what we have today, right? Which
Sure.
is the family Ice Cube who's in like Jingle All the Way.
21 Jump Street Ice
Yeah.
Cube.
But like he came off as like kind of a monster in this documentary, and he was at that time with this community, and I use that word sparingly.
It's a diaspora.
Because like the community here that's being that's doing the talking head stuff too, they are disenfranchised, and they aren't a community, and they are not together. We don't see them doing activism together. They're all kind of
They're very splintered.
very splintered and floating talking heads. But as Tomas brought up as well, like they're all very like part of the academia, and you would have to imagine that a lot of their peers are like the white establishment, right? So
Oh, sure. Well, if you know who Cornel West is, he's a young version of him is in this movie, speaking authoritatively academically.
oh yes, with the guy with the glasses.
Yes.
Well, it was an education, that movie, and I think
I enjoy. I mean, in as much as this is a tough movie to enjoy, but I appreciate it.
yeah, I think it was enlightening. Even though I don't know how much of this translates 30 years later. I would imagine much of it does. As much as there has been change in the last 30 years, I think that most of this is probably still, very relevant. I would like to see this movie updated. I would like to see this movie expanded upon and almost like rebooted with like new, like to kind of talk about what's happened since then, and how Marlon Riggs, the director and creator of this movie, activist himself, would react to the changes that have been made and implemented, and possibly because of his writings and his activism.
I agree with you, and the interpretive dance, the poetry, all the stuff we alluded to, I could have done without. I know that was his choice, and he's an artist, so go for it. But didn't add anything to bring.
Yeah, if I'm being nice, it's like I understand what they're hoping. I'm feeling in while watching this naked man, or partially not him. It was an actual professional dancer. They had a few professional dancers, but as we're hearing like poetry, and he does this dance in his underwear on the stage, and it just makes me feel uncomfortable, because I guess that I'm not evolved enough to be able to feel what the filmmakers are hoping that I'm going to feel. So that's me being nice. I just think, yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
I think it was the era of poetry slams and coffee houses, and it felt like it. Right, that felt represented.
Yucky.
Yeah. Anyway, overall good. Tomas, thank you very much for assigning us, man. I never would have heard of this film.
Yeah, I think that's most of us, most listeners, and I would imagine black is ellipses, black ain't. Black is ... black ain't is the name of that one. And yeah, Tomas had the last movie. What was the last? I don't even know what the last movie is that he. I don't have it written in my notes. My notes are failing me. Okay. Hey, before I forget,
yeah,
I have another 2023 movie to assign you.
Oh my God.
And this is coming from our friend Danny Leffler.
Hey.
Rye, Rye Lance. Rye Lance.
Rylance.
Rye.
Like Mark Rylance.
Different, but it's two words. Rye Lance, two names. And then next week, the week after that, we'll be catching up with Jeffrey Covey's Evening Promise on YouTube for Rent. So we'll be watching that. And then Eric Robbins, you're coming up too here soon. We'll be watching
Rye Lane?
Did I misspell that? Rye Lane?
You said Rye Lance.
Yeah, it's Rye Lane. Thank you for catching me on that. Now, when I respond to your text in like 3 or 4 days and you say, what are we watching for the listener assignment? I might say Rye Lance again.
Yeah, please do.
But know that you've already corrected me and it's Rye Lane.
Streaming on Hulu. So check that out for next week. We'll be discussing that.
Rye Lance.
I was told Rye Lane.
It's Rye Lane. Rye Lance.
Okay.
It's a romantic comedy.
All right. What do you know about it? Anything?
I've been told it's good. That's why it's been assigned to us. Rye Lane. All right. Let's do a top 5 on who we'd like to eat.
I love it. Let's do it. Yes. Coming up next, we will go over our top 5 characters.
I don't know if that might have come through on the recording since I'm recording on my computer because we're doing this remote. But Brian just texted me, what are we watching next week? Very good, Brian.
There you go. Yes, we will. At least for me, solid reasoning on why these are the best 5 characters to eat in a life or death scenario next. Hey, welcome back. Time to count down our top 5 characters who'd be best to eat if you were forced to, if they gave you permission to desecrate their bodies.
I like how nervous Brian is.
I know. This is, look, can I?
After it was his idea, now he's just soft battling.
It's so weird, is it not? Okay, look, all week long, I've been thinking like, it's a weird topic. It feels creepy. I don't know how I'm going to do this without coming off as creepy.
It's timely.
I think I did a decent job as far as the non-creepiness goes. And I actually like my list. And, this is 100% clever list. This is all about how clever can you be. Look at the smug smile. Look at that. He's like, that's absolutely a clever list. That's right. But this is all Brian's idea.
You are correct.
Brian's been lobbying for this since he, was made aware of the Society of the Snow. Yes, it is. I've been calling it Society of Snow, but it's Society of the Snow. And he's like, we got to do it. We got to do the people we would eat. And now, all week long, he's been like, we should really phrase it differently. And now here on the program, he's all like, if we had to, if there is no other godly choice, and they granted permission for us.
If the alternative was I never saw Tessa and Christy again, would I be forced at gunpoint to consume?
It's kind of bizarre.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Avery, because I shared my list with Christy before the show, not that long before the show, with a smug pat on the back look on my face. And when I got to my number 1, she literally forbade me from doing it, saying you could lose a work if this was taken out of context. And I'm like, you know what?
That's where this is coming.
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
Brian's marriage is on the line.
I replaced.
Did you?
I did. I'm sorry to say I caved.
What?
I'll take your answer off air.
What? No, tell us right now. You cannot do that to the listening audience.
Sorry. Help this out. We could always do as a Patreon bonus.
Could you tell us what film they were in?
No. There might be a titular character.
Was it based on a novel?
I don't know.
Wait, I don't get it. Like as this ridiculous exercise, how could you lose work for suggesting you might want to eat them? Which it can be spun either way. Either you're going to eat them because you.
Are you smoking a cigarette?
No.
What is that thing?
It's like one of those beady things that the Indians smoke. It's not real.
Oh, interesting. I would guess otherwise.
Brian, was it based on a novel Push by Sapphire?
How would I know that?
Oh, is that what it is?
I no.
I mean, that would have been a fine choice, and you can explain why too. Christy needs to relax.
Well,
everyone needs to relax. Precious would probably taste very good.
Was that?
Precious would probably taste very good, and she would.
I wouldn't know. I never. You make.
She would last a long time too.
There's a bonus.
Ryan's cracking himself up over there. Not going to lose work for saying you're going to eat Precious, Brian. Come on.
There's a bonus in there.
The bonus? You already said on the show a long time ago that when she cries, it's gravy. Very rude. Gabourey Sidibe was one of the nicest people to ever grace the Loveline studio. and she came in the night before she was up for an Academy Award. She just couldn't have been more down to earth. And
Speaking of crying gravy, I do have a second list. I have a pairing of fantastical characters, like characters that aren't real people, but they should be included. And one of them does cry edible tears.
oh yeah, Bing Bong.
Maybe
No, it's Wreck-It Ralph. Right.
safe.
Okay, Brian, you want to start this train? I
Oh, I
do like
must.
my list. I like my list. I'm into my
All right.
list. It's very 90s heavy. I didn't know that. I didn't realize I was doing that until
Interesting.
I did what I'm doing now, which is doing links for the Patreon list.
I am worried that I have two from the 90s on my list.
We're not gonna cross over on any of this. Don't sweat it.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Number 5 is now the only female on my list. She is described as roomy. Talking, of course, about Catherine Martin, played by Brooke Smith in Silence of the Lambs. In the movie, Buffalo Bill specifically targets her for her roominess, as Hannibal Lecter put it. Now, it's a problem, I think, that she's trapped in the well and that she's probably being starved. I would need her to be a bit plumper, but perhaps upon kidnapping, after the van scene, would be prime, no pun intended, time. Again, she's on the plane with me. We've
Yes.
crash landed in the
And away
80s.
from this scenario that you set up to make this all plausible and stomachable, right? And now you're
Brian's
talking
over
about
at
her
Buffalo
being,
Bill's house for a couple pops and he gets hungry.
she has to catch a red eye. You happen to be on it. How does she get out of the well, Brian, to get on your plane?
No, this is the character as we know her, but she happens to be on the plane with you. We're transposing this character.
Okay.
You know what? If she wants to be Precious the dog, she can do that too. That's an amuse bouche.
A what?
You don't know amuse bouche?
No. Oh, Christ.
Avery?
Are people going to get upset about this now as well?
Avery?
I hate just leaning in. I'm loath to say I've heard it many times, but I don't think I've ever heard it.
No, that's not true.
Described, the definition laid out.
You know,
I've heard of amuse bouche quite a bit though.
There's 250,000 English words, right? Which,
well, these are French words.
They believe are it's the most words in any language.
Sure. Oh,
okay. Definitively, but they believe, powers that be believe that there's more words.
Story checks out.
There's also a book, I believe it's called Gadsby. You hear about this? You hear about this? I think it's
like the Great Gatsby.
No, it's not Gatsby. It's Gadsby, and the entire book, it's like 267 pages. A lot of words, not a single E in the entire book.
Really?
And it's the most used letter in the English language is E.
It is.
Wow.
It is.
And he tied the crazy author tied that key down on his typewriter and did not allow himself to use the letter E for the entire fucking book.
That's an Anderson move right there.
Very difficult to do. Yeah.
Impressive. No, it's more like a Trent Reznor move. Like he really, with him.
I thought of the name of Brian's next book. It would be Sniff: What to Say and How to Say It.
I think it would be What to Say and How to Say It. Sniff.
Yep.
All right.
I just like a big sniff in between two asterisks.
And amuse bouche is if you go to a fancy restaurant, the chef will sometimes send out some tiny little bite that is pre-appetizer. Like, hey, thanks for dining here. Here's a deconstructed celery and peanut butter or something.
That's what you end the meal with?
No, you start.
Oh, they thank you for dining.
It's pre-appetizer, yeah. Like, welcome to our restaurant. The chef has sent out this amuse bouche.
It is douche. That is true. It is bouge.
Amuse douche. On my fantastical list, pairing with the only female on the list, I'm going to go with Miss Piggy. If Miss Piggy was... This is so fucking stupid. She's a pig.
That's the reason. Because she's a pig.
I mean, I could have gone with Babe, but I feel like Miss Piggy is larger.
I had that thought for half a minute during the week. I'm like, maybe I just fuck Brian's little fantasy here and just do all like animals.
You could do that.
Like Brother Bear, like he'd be on there.
I
I'm
have
like,
I
nah.
have a separate also ran list.
For someone who's very ashamed and has to have the wording just right, you sure do have a lot of characters on your list,
Yeah,
Brian.
I have a separate also ran list of giant behemoths.
You really like to get your eat on, don't you, Brian? You really.
They would not fit in a plane, so the exercise is futile. But like the starfish from Suicide Squad, that's
Hold on, give me 1 second. Talk
that's
about
seafood for weeks.
This is why Brian's had to walk it back because he's thought too much about
I
this.
really have.
He's ashamed of the detail.
I've been living in this world for a week, writing things down in the middle of the night.
You have to walk yourself back from the ledge. Just no. This
Yeah,
is only a break glass in case of emergency.
any number of dinosaurs from Jurassic Park, Monstro the whale from from Pinocchio. You know, they're like fantastic. It wouldn't make sense, but
Mothra.
Mothra would be great to eat.
Oh, and the Star Wars Episode 8 when they're eating the little bird pellet, the little fuzzy,
Oh,
You're
the
not-
fuzzy
you're not
penguins,
understanding.
the porgs,
porgs,
and they do eat them. Tasty.
Not monstrous though.
they roast them.
All right, number 5 for me. This is a movie that gets brought up from time to time. I don't think it's ever been on either one of our lists, possibly, but I'm going with Natasha Lyonne as White Girl and Maria Celadonio as Ciclona in Freeway 2, Confessions
Legend of a Trick Baby.
a Trick Baby. Yes, 1999. The reason being, Brian, this is the only Hansel and Gretel movie I've ever seen, I think. And I was just thinking, like, Hansel and Gretel deserve to be eaten because I mean, all the work's been done. It's like the hen has already put in all the work of the planting of the seed and the milling and the baking of the bread. Just no eating goes on with that Hansel and Gretel story. So why not? You know,
Wait, Hansel and Gretel themselves are about to be cooked by the old lady.
but they don't get cooked. They don't get eaten. They always get away.
That is
So
true, that's true.
I would like to eat the fruits of the old lady's labor and eat the Hansel and Gretel as it were here, Greta and Greta in Freeway 2 by Matthew Bright.
All right, fair enough. I'm gonna go with number 4. Do you have any? That's all I have to say about.
I don't have a
Trick
whole lot
Baby?
more to say. I'm not going to elaborate on most of these because I mean, why?
All right, here's where the strategy comes in. Number 4, from Jurassic Park, Dennis Nedry, played by Wayne Knight. Now listen, number 1, he's a large man. Number 2, he's very zoftig. He's plump. He's soft. There's lots go around. Number 3, he's very sedentary. He doesn't really do much. He sits in front of a computer all day. Remember, he's the computer programmer who's in charge of the security system. So he's a nerd. He's a hacker. He's a guy who sits in front of a computer all day. That's right. You didn't say the magic word. And Anderson, adding to his desirability to be eaten, he's gluttonous. We only ever see him eating a high sugar diet, right? He's eating candy bars and he's eating sodas or a giant platter of local fruits when Dachshund shows up. So Dennis Nedry would be the guy you want on that plane.
Newman.
Yep.
Stephen Knight. Is his name Stephen
Wayne
Knight?
Knight.
Wayne Knight. Wayne Knight. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a layup because you're over there already imagining cramming a large T-Rex into the into the underbelly of the plane so you can eat it during the crash or after the crash. And then you're like, oh yeah, there is a gluttonous man in this movie. I could get him in there.
And my fantastical entry, while it would be absurd for this person to be on a plane with you, Howard the Duck is a great choice. He's a
Duck.
He's a duck. He's oily. He's delicious. You eat duck, yes?
No.
What?
I don't
Duck.
eat veal. I don't eat duck, and I don't eat porkies. Yeah.
Really? Duck is ducks
Yeah,
like
duck,
chicken.
I know. I like the ducks. When I go to like a park and I feed the ducks, I'm like, hey, you know, I'm not going to eat you anymore.
Well,
So
you'd love to kill that duck, but I'm saying, in as much as duck exists as a edible
I used
meat,
to really enjoy duck. Duck's a good food, but I don't eat them anymore, even though they're cruel and horrible to each other. And I need to stop being such a pab.
ducks
Or
are
I could
jerks.
be even more of a pab and not eat any animals. How about that? Because if I
Yeah,
had to
pick
kill
a
my
lane.
animal, if I had to kill my own, I would not eat. But I eat way less meat than I did just a year ago. Every year I eat a little less meat. So
Is that true?
I cook with tofu quite a bit these days. Yeah, I just make tacos. Tofu. Yeah.
Jillian must love that.
I have she doesn't care because she doesn't eat tofu, but I eat like a steak maybe once every 3 weeks. It used to be like at least once, twice a week I'd have a big steak. Those days are gone, bye.
You're withering away to nothing.
Still like my steaks though, let me tell you. But
All right,
they're
you're on
special.
the plane. The plane's going down the Andes.
Yeah.
Who's your number 4?
I'm very happy that a man with a red stapler is sitting next to me.
Wait, is it number 3?
It's my number 4, and is Stephen Root is Milton from Office.
Milton, yes.
Bit of a layup. He will be marbled. He doesn't do a whole lot of he doesn't like strenuous activity.
He's very sedentary.
Yes, and I think that he would probably make a nice meal. I'd have to get through some of the adipose tissue. I mean, you don't want to eat just the pure fat, but perhaps we could use some of that for soap because we're gonna get stinky out there.
That's a really good point. Are you gonna use it for lantern oil?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of uses for that Milton right there.
Milton's my number 4 as a character I would like to eat. If I had to eat them, and Milton told me that I was allowed to use his red stapler in his body.
Oh yeah,
once he was gone.
Absolutely. Well, number 3 for me.
I was trapped in the uninhabitable zone above the tree line.
What?
I just love Brian's qualifications of how specific he is.
Just to be clear here, I don't want to actually eat these people.
My qualifications or my criteria?
Both.
Okay, because I got criteria for all of mine.
You're very gleeful with the criteria, by the way.
Number 3 is based on a real person in real life who is also a character in a movie portrayed in The Interview, Kim Jong-un.
Not bad.
You might think, why, in what scenario would you be on a plane with Kim Jong-un? Well, plane goes down. Keep in mind, there was a story 4 years ago that Kim Jong-un had taken ill and was taken to the hospital because he had eaten a diet that was too. This is not a joke. Reportedly, now South Korea or North Korea is very tight-lipped about its great leader, but Kim Jong-un had reportedly eaten a diet.
You can't say it.
It's so dumb, but it's real. He did a diet too. He ate too much cheese. He was eating a diet too rich in cheese and had taken with some gastric bypass illness and was taken to the hospital. Not good for him in terms of surviving for a long time. But really good for me, who was starving.
You know what's interesting? I never heard this before.
What's
And
that?
the cheese thing is kind of fascinating because, he is from
I was going to say Korea, and there's not.
There's no cheese over there in the Asian part of the world, right? They don't have any cheese. Go to a Chinese restaurant and try and find anything with cheese.
Huh?
Same with Japanese and Korean food. You just don't see cheese in any of their dishes. And this man is obsessed with Western culture to the point that he's flying Rod Stewart and a block of cheese, a full wheel of cheese to his country, right, for his birthday.
True.
Rod Stewart, no,
Dennis Rodman. I was going to say Rod Stewart went.
Yeah, that was the first I heard about that. Do you guys hear about the cheese story?
No.
Never heard this cheese story.
No, he was hospitalized with.
Hey, listeners, bring it. Yeah, go. I can't believe you lived in the world for so long without ever knowing about Kim Jong-un's.
Ask the Korean diaspora. Ask John Cho. He was Korean.
You consider yourself a foodie, Brian. It's never occurred to you that the Asian cuisine is devoid of cheese. Never.
Do you know why Koreans don't eat cheese, John Cho?
Tomatoes and cheese.
Not occurred to me that you're right. Yes, there is not much cheese in.
There's no cheese that I can think of. They got the tamago, in sushi, which is like the egg, which is the closest thing they have to cheese that I think I've ever had in any kind of Asian. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's some very expensive, some kind of historical cheese dish. I would imagine for like royalty that I'm not aware of that is not served readily on Chinese menus. I'm sure there's something. There's got to be some kind of cheese.
Well, yeah. So you say Asian food, and we all know that to mean Japanese, Chinese, India, which is in Asia. I believe they have a lot of cheese in their diet, but couldn't tell you definitively.
I don't think they do. I don't think
there's definitely cheese in Indian food.
Is there
I don't know how much there is, but there's definitely dishes that involve cheese.
There's a ramen place down the street from my house, and that might be the only.
It's a great story.
But that might be the only time I've ever seen cheese in any kind of Asian food. And I don't know if that's just it's something they made up. It's one of these like kind of like hipster, really, really good ramen places, but they have a spicy red ramen with cheese. And that's the only time that I think I've ever seen cheese.
Yeah, can't specifically remember a lot of cheese on Chinese, Japanese, Korean.
Well, you keep saying a
menus.
lot, suggesting there's some, and there's none. So
I've seen imitation cheeses, but that could be an LA thing, right? Like tofu cheese.
you see tofu cheese in Chinese food.
Yeah. Well, like, yes, in Asian food, absolutely. Not in a lot of restaurants, but like in vegan restaurants.
Mhm. Okay, number 3 for me.
I'm saying that's probably an LA thing. I'm saying you're ultimately right.
Well,
Brian
I
has
don't
to do
eat
his
veal.
3B. He has to do his fun
Yes,
3B.
my fantastical character. I alluded Anderson to character producing food of his tears. And yes, I am talking about Bing Bong. Bing Bong would be a good character regardless. He's basically a half elephant, half God knows what. So he's meaty. But the fact that you could all you have to do is emotionally abuse this guy when you're in the snow. Remind him of his dead loved ones.
Mhm.
You're never going to see him again. Look at old Clyde over there, rotting corpse. Big Mom start to cry. You got candy for weeks.
Unless you push him too far and he disappears.
I know. Got to worry about that.
Careful. You gotta rein him back in.
Yeah.
Bing Bong would not fare well in the tundra.
And the snow, I agree with that. But you have to, give
Talking about
the
much fun. He'd be
message
like
from it.
sledding with like horns blowing and like streamers coming off. He'd have the most fun out there, as you're imagining.
Think about how easy it would have been to get up that mountain with Bing Bong in a sled. Who's the friend who likes the snow? Bing Bong, Bing Bong.
Right. He'd probably have his train out there too, right? He'd probably train you to safety.
See?
Yeah. Now, would you take the jelly beans directly into your mouth and try and catch them, or would you go with a bowl?
Oh no, definitely a bowl or some sort of receptacle, because keep in mind a lot of those candies are wrapped.
Oh, the ones that come out of his eyes? I thought it was all jelly beans.
I thought it was like Tootsie Rolls and shit.
I thought they were jelly beans.
He'd fashion an apparatus like they had in the Society of the Snow to capture the
That's
fresh
right,
water.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, buddy, you're on water duty. I'll get the candy.
Number 3 for me. While I do not eat veal, in fact, I did have veal a few times when I was a kid. I didn't know that it was just a different kind of meat. And then when I found out what it was, I was very young, and I'm like, I'm not doing that ever again. What? And my dad would still eat it. I'm like, what are you doing, Dad? Why?
Veal, very tender.
How? You probably eat veal, don't you, Brian?
No, really rarely.
How about never? Do you eat
I
it?
mean, honestly, probably 3 times in my adult life, like really rarely.
Do you eat veal as much as Chinese put cheese on their food?
Probably about equal, actually.
No,
And you know what I had
that's not-
recently was
that would mean not at all.
in London. I had venison.
No, that's okay. Yeah, there's a lot of those. All right. Well, I don't eat veal in real life, but
Hey, what's the most exotic meat you ever had? Christy, what's the most exotic meat I've ever had? Rattlesnake. I had
Alligator.
rattlesnake or alligator, probably. That's not even that exotic.
we've all had alligator. It was probably chicken.
What about you? What's the most exotic meat you've
Probably
had?
alligator. I don't know.
Come on.
I really don't know. Nothing's popping. Ostrich,
Snails.
snails. Yeah, I eat the snails.
No camel.
I have not had the camel yet. Atticus just today. He's like, Dad, you should really try camel, because I guess he was watching some Gordon Ramsay show, or he ate camel.
Or listen to the AD.
Yeah, the camel
That's
was
right.
the answer. It took us like 45 minutes to get there.
That was one of the hardest episodes I've ever listened to.
Really? Was it frustrating?
It was
I
a
got
challenge.
in the first 3 minutes.
It was- yeah,
it was a bit of a
That was tearing my lack
spent
of hair out.
45 minutes trying to guess what Tyler's mom had prepared meat wise. And okay, number. So yeah, I don't eat veal, but if we were on the plane and young Ray Boyd, played by Jonathan Lipnicki,
Oh no.
the little boy, and Jerry Maguire,
No. I left off a child.
was not fortunate enough to make it, I would be curious as to what his tender little body tastes. Okay.
That is sick.
It is. That's why this is a horrible exercise, but I'm going to be honest here. Like, I would be like, hey, somebody's got to, put the boy's body to good use. And I bet it's going to be pretty good. In fact, there's an
Interesting.
argument can be made that he should be number 1.
Yeah, I didn't go
We're
down
going
this
purely
route.
based on cuisine.
Yeah. I'm just going to, after a while,
You know
you
what?
forget they're even bodies.
I knew I'd think of some during the episode, and I didn't go down this route, but any character who is physically confined to a space, like John Hawkes in the Sessions, like that is essentially veal. Like your muscles are just sitting there
I
doing
had
nothing.
Stephen Hawking on my list for a minute, but then I'm like, nah, it's too easy and it'd be gross because he'd probably be rife with drugs.
Sloth might have been good when he first got strapped down.
No, stop.
Mm.
Yeah, when you first strapped him down before you.
But he's
But what
he's
gluttony,
living
though?
he's living cured jerky by the end.
What about gluttony?
No, gluttony's too easy. There's just too much fat. Too much.
Yeah, you're right. All right, time for number 2. Or we take a break, talk
Taking
a
a
little
break.
Amazon.
We'll do a little Amazon.
Amazon next, and then more people, food after that.
All right.
Did I?
I just got an email, and I think it might be phishing. It's settlement administrator notice of proposed class action settlement against AMC networks. And usually they just like say, hey, you're entitled to some of this cash, which you never see, and you don't have to do anything. But this one says click here to file a claim for cash payment. And I think that it's probably
Click it.
no.
What are you doing? Money on the table.
I will not. Ooh, look at this.
What?
Very, very few click-throughs. What's going on there?
Must have fucked this up. Oh, I sent you my list. So Anderson, in your email should be 2 Amazon lists this week as opposed to 1.
Yeah, I got that one very short one.
Yes, very short. I will do the longer one. And I fucked myself up. You know what? It was a as you'll see with Anderson's list, shorter list this week. People don't spend as much money at the beginning of the year, don't shop nearly as much as they did coming off the holidays and get a little bit of shopping fatigue. I understand. And you know what? Thanks anyway. Thanks for thinking of us. Thanks for making the clicks you do. We appreciate it. Even if it's a little thing, like I said last week, it adds up. And keep us in mind when you're heading over to Amazon to do your shopping. We appreciate you even considering us. Things purchased on the Amazon link over at AndersonBryan.com. I hear nothing. I think that's how it's supposed to be. Some nail it regardless. Include ECACAD, ECACAD. 4-piece TV stand with bookshelves was purchased, as well as We Sell Mats, exercise mat for home workouts, Western Digital 8 terabyte Elements external hard drive, Google Pixel Buds Pro, noise canceling earbuds, HP LaserJet wireless printer was purchased. Someone got, maybe the same person, our old reliable Boise Paper X9 multi-use copy paper. Thank you for continuing to use us as your Amazon shopping option. Appreciate it. Rolling Star corner bookshelf was picked up. Someone got a Power Tower, Bang Tong and Lee pull-up bar dip station. Good luck. Nick's mini colorimeter, whatever. Amazon Kindle was purchased for Russell Athletic Boys fleece, sweatpants, and joggers. Someone got themselves a diesel filter set for a Dodge Ram, Hammer Mill printer paper, Healthy Living nicotine mini lozenge, Keen women's closed toe water sandals, Kettle and Fire classic beef bone broth, Thorn red yeast rice was purchased, as well as a BAC track keychain breathalyzer. Fun. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game for PlayStation 5. Tide Pods, free and gentle, by the way. That's what I use. Cubby, computer desk, ISO pure protein powder, Nicorette nicotine gum, Adidas men's tech golf shoe, and finally, someone bought themselves an A1 black wood poster frame. Boom. Nailed it.
The movies ever clicked through since the last time I talked at y'all. A record low. Never seen this few movies click through. I think a lot of people are probably going out of theaters, or like Brian said, maybe just not spending as much as they were in December, trying to like ease off the lighten up those credit cards, or maybe they just don't care anymore. I don't know. But here are the 4 movies.
That can't be it.
Count them 4 or click through. Somebody clicked through and got Cruel Intentions. Cruel Intentions. I think I saw that. I think I saw that in the theater. Yeah. Amanda was clicked through, as well as Oppenheimer, and then something called Disney Wow World of Wonder, single disc Blu-ray. Disney Wow World of Wonder was clicked through. Thank you very much to the 4 people. Perhaps one person who clicked through all 4. Perhaps it was 3 people. One person got 2. The other person people
Some combination.
there could be 2 people and they each got 2. There could be 2 people and one got 3 and the other one got 1. There's all sorts.
What Anderson is trying to say, in other words, 4 or 40. We appreciate you guys. So thanks for supporting the show.
Say 4. Anyone. It could be any number of listeners from 1 to 4. Or you know what? Maybe a couple listeners together.
Week to week.
Maybe a couple listeners got together and said, "Hey, you want to go in with me on Cruel Intentions? I'll pay half and you pay half." So I guess
a watch party.
I guess there could be 5 listeners, but it's unlikely. So thank you most likely to the 4 people who clicked through this week. Appreciate it. And now back to the program. All right. All sorts of shit happens in your neighborhood you're not aware of until you stand out in your garage with the door open for like 2.5 hours.
I can only imagine.
Stuff's just happening out here.
Hey, we're back. And time to count down our most delectable, strategically, people would like to eat from movies. Can I go?
You may. I grant you.
Okay, here we go. This is exciting. So speaking of veal, I feel like your best bet if this character is on the plane next to you is you want the character to be large, soft, like I mentioned, like Dennis Nedry, sedentary, of course, minimal movement. I'm talking about not Dennis at number 2, but Francis Buxton from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh,
now he's large, he's soft. That's all good. He's going to feed a lot of people. He spends an inordinate amount of time in the pool, not swimming, not doing laps, mind you, staging elaborate naval battles with his toys. So you got to figure this guy is exceptionally lazy and not very athletic. So we're talking about a nice, tender specimen.
Staging elaborate naval battles. That was well worded, Brian. I appreciated that. And yeah, he could be more lazy. He could just be laying in like a waterbed watching elaborate war battles happen on the History Channel. At least he's actually staging these elaborate naval war battles in his massive pool of a tub.
It really is a gigantic pool.
I hear you. Good pick, I guess.
Yep. You want to hear number 2?
Here's where if we're gonna, rock any boats, make any waves, Brian.
Well, you got to hear his fantasy answer. He keeps giving us 2B.
Oh, I forget. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
All right, it's a bit obvious. It's a bit obvious, but speaking of characters who are sedentary and large and probably very delectable, Pizza the Hut from Spaceballs. He's literally a being. I was gonna say a man, but he's an intergalactic gangster who is made entirely of pizza. And one of the more delightful discoveries of my adult life was when I realized that upon rewatching this fine film, Pizza is broadcasting not from his home, well, perhaps his home, but he's broadcasting from a pizza joint with the crisscrossed tablecloths and everything.
With what? Crisscross what?
The crisscross pattern on the table.
Oh, the checkered tablecloth.
Yeah, the Italian restaurant with like
good,
little
good stuff.
He's broadcasting. Get it.
Well, remember, he only sees Lone
I don't
Star
remember.
on the video screen.
Yeah, what?
He only sees Lone Star and Barf on the video screen.
Okay, I'm still confused, but I'm okay with that. I'm fine. I can move.
Hey, play the clip.
Number 2 for me is
So people can see the spread.
number 2 for me is this. This is where we might.
The Parmesan canister.
You done?
Yeah.
We can continue if you want to talk more about Pizza Hut. How funny that is.
No, Pizza the Hut, like
It's so not
Society
my
of the Snow.
Pizza the Hut is just not my cup of tea at all. You get it? It's funny because Jabba the Hutt has Hut in his name, but we can do Pizza the Hut because it's Pizza Hut, like the chain.
You get it? You get it?
This is good, right? Is it funny because it's so dumb? I'm so confused by this brand of humor.
I don't think I got it even as a kid. I think I watched it once and went, I think it's funny because it's dumb, and then I never wanted to see
funny.
it again.
I think it's one of those things where people and this is going to offend some people, I'm sure, but I'm telling you, I truly believe this. People tell you that Mel Brooks is funny, so then you accept the fact that you think, and then you watch his stuff and you think I'm supposed to think this is funny. I don't want to be an outcast and say it's not funny, and then you trick yourself into thinking it's funny.
That's probably hurtful. I'm gonna add you to my list.
A listener just watched something recently, and there was a smart listener that I respected, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's not as funny as I had imagined it to be in my head."
It's a great story.
I think Mel Brooks is probably a fine fella, very smart,
still alive,
just not very funny. All right, now if that didn't offend enough people, I'm sure there's a segment of our listenership who's probably not going to like this, but not only is this man's physique probably what I'm looking for in a in livestock if I were to eat, but also I think it helps me. And I've already talked about how I don't like.
I know where this is going.
I don't like to eat ducks. I don't like to eat little veals. I don't like to eat little piggies, right? Because I like them, and I think it would help me a lot in this eating of another fellow human being.
Is Mr. Hands?
I do not care for them, so that's why my number 2 choice,
Mr. Hands,
is a character from Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump as Donald Trump. This is the 1992 version of Donald Trump, so he's not quite as meth addled or drug addled,
despicable,
and old and atrophied as he might be today. Who knows what's propping him up? What kind of drug?
The younger Trump probably offers more in terms of nutrition.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that he would not be. And all joking aside, like I bet that husky man back in '92 probably would have fed all of the tail section.
Yeah, because like when the rugby team crashed, like my thought was, if it was an American football team, you'd have linemen, you'd have like fat players to like go around in terms of eating, but like the rugby players are all very sinewy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Donald Trump would be on the menu for me, and like I said, I wouldn't feel much guilt. I don't think, because I'm not a big fan of his. I don't like, never have. And this is not a political thing. I have hated Donald Trump.
Yeah, you're allowed to not like Donald Trump from years back,
long before he was a politician. There's probably audio of me talking badly about Donald. I'm sure there is, because I flick fest that movie, the documentary called "You've Been Trumped," where it just showed what a horrible, despicable man he was to these little Scottish people who lived in shacks. Lived there for generations. And he came in. He's like, "Look at these despicable."
Look at these deplorables.
He was so awful. He almost like got over the hump and made him cool, because he was so villainous in this documentary. He's like, "Look at these disheveled, pathetic people. Let's just clear them out. I want to put my golf course here." And it's just like, you embody everything I hate about rich, like gross Americans. You embody all of it. And this is long before he was a politician. So,
yeah, I forgot about the whole incident where for years he was trying to get the people off their land.
He's always trying. He's just that guy, and he always has been. And this is not political. It's just I hate him as a human being. I always have.
All right, my number 1 is also based on a real person.
That said, when he became president, Brian, I still get flack from my wife and some of my friends. Tyler and Mike give me flack for it, where I said, "Hey, you know what? Let's not be hasty. Let's see what he has to offer." So I was trying to be open-minded, even though I fucking hated him.
That was the most punk rock thing you've ever said.
No, it wasn't punk rock. That's the whole. I was trying to be like an adult.
Establishment Andy.
All right, go ahead. This is your number 1 now.
Number 1.
It's not going to be like Michael Bean's dick or anything, is it?
No, I thought about doing Michael Bean, but honestly, by the rules I set out for my list, Michael Bean doesn't. He's a thin man. He's a thin man and wouldn't offer much in terms of nutrients, especially as Kyle Reese or even Corporal Hicks. Number 1, however,
you would enjoy him in your mouth.
I would enjoy. My desire is going to be outweighed by the practicality of my number 1. Number 1, from Raging Bull, Jake LaMotta. But
what?
late stage Jake LaMotta. So once incredibly muscular as a champion boxer, later
Kobe
we
beef.
remember LaMotta is covered by layers of fat, and so I feel like with the muscle underneath, he's still a strong man, but he's very rotund by this point. He's perfectly marbled. Plus, Anderson, after taking thousands of punches to the belly and to his body over the years, his body is perfectly tenderized. We're talking about like,
Is that a real thing? Is that true?
well, yeah, you can
I
tenderize
don't
meat.
think so.
No, you're talking about punching it? No, no one does that.
Okay,
But you
thank God.
tenderize
Because if
meat
that was
with
true,
like
like, there's
with
some
like
kind
a-
of evil farm out there, and they just have people like entire dojos just go out like twice a week and
There's
just
some CrossFitters out there.
what
no,
the
you
hell?
make
Thank God that's not a real thing.
you make like chicken paillard by pounding it with a mallet. So you tenderize meat.
Yeah, like post
Yeah,
posthumous.
post filleting.
Are dead. Yeah, like you don't do that. Okay,
That's it. This is the best we can do.
Jake LaMotta, huh?
That's right.
Well, if this was a contest, and it's not, and that's unfortunate, because if it were, I'd be winning here because there's only one real answer.
My
And you-
number one for the fantasy category
Fuck, I did it
is
again.
a similar reasoning. Very muscular, but also a little large. Like, would wear he would shop at the big and tall store. I'm talking, of course, about Maui from Moana. Yes, he's a demigod, which God knows what that tastes like. But he's very muscular, but also, Maui enjoys the good life. He got a little extra padding on there. So I feel like perfectly marbled Maui, perfectly marbled Maui.
We didn't even talk about Nimona and like what the story is. I don't think you have to. The less you know, the better. Just go and watch that.
Yeah, I described it last week. Remember, as sort of a Star Wars esque in the
You
sense
describe the
that,
world a little bit.
yes, both
there is-
futuristic and old timey.
And there are actual moments where there's like escapes happening, and it's very Star Wars, very New Hope. And actually reminding me of that when they're all trying to escape with Princess Leia. And everyone's after
Metal.
metal. All right, Brian, very good. Yes, you would eat Moana.
No, Maui.
Really? You see the trailer for Moana?
No, is there a
Live
trailer?
action
Oh no.
with the Rock playing Moana?
I don't like this.
No. Why would you? Why would you like any of that, Brian? Why would you like any of that?
Feels unnecessary.
It's almost like they're trying to make a parody of Hollywood and trying to make movies less consumable even by the masses. Even though that'll probably be a huge fucking hit. That guy from that guy from Fast and Furious is in there. Let's go see it. Looks good.
All right, what's number one? You're upsetting a lot of people.
I'm upset. I'm upset. Number one. There's only one right answer, Brett.
Speaking of the guy from Fast and Furious, Dominic Toretto has made the list.
Who's that? Who's that?
Vin Diesel from Fast and Furious.
Oh God. You know what? Fast and Furious just makes me sad now. Because I think about when I was at Universal with my son, who had just turned 7, and we were on the tram ride, and we went through the Fast and Furious monstrosity. That just absolute and total, like, makes you embarrassed to be a human being when you have to go through that and you see them talking about the family and being all like macho and tough, and oh God. And Atticus was just enthralled, and he knows it's movie related. So when it's done, his eyes are wide. He's like, "Was that a movie, Dad?" And I said, "Yes, it's called Fast and Furious." I was like,
Oh, it's not just a movie. There's many movies.
There's like
10 of them.
14 of them, son. And he's like, he's thinking like, I can bond with Dad because he loves movies, and I don't really like movies, but I love that. He's like, "Do you like it, Dad?" And I'm like, "No, son, I hate them all very much." And his little crestfallen face,
He was
my God,
crestfallen.
I was so.
Crushed him.
I'm like, but maybe you would like, we could. I couldn't bring myself to say we could watch him one day. I couldn't do it.
Oh, he's gonna come see Uncle Avery and Uncle Brian.
We can have a little watch along. What if we had a watch along and he sat in for you?
Hey, what?
Oh, be good.
He sat in for you.
Yeah, he did. He sat in for you, Brian. We watched Star Beast or whatever.
Oh, here we go. Third by the fair play.
We could watch. Maybe Addie and I do watch. Can we watch the first one? Is it R? It's not, right? It's PG.
No, it's art.
Is it the first one?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
it's probably the grittiest, most realistic one in terms
you
of
probably
like
wouldn't like
street culture and all that. It doesn't get really ridiculous until
Do they PG-13 it up though later? Or they all are?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
for
they get more
sure.
ridiculous as they go on, though.
Oh,
They're more
they're
cartoony.
PG-13 for sure.
I'm genuinely sad right now thinking about that. Ah, man. We did watch, this is just a quick little aside. We did watch, and I'll talk about this on the After Disaster briefly, but Atticus and I watched Time Bandits last week. And that movie holds up. It's fucking fantastic. It's quality. And the kid loved it. He really, really, there's a lot there for kids. And there is a little bit of history there as well. You get to, you get to go to the different worlds at different time periods. And it ends in a very strange fashion. And he just looks at me and goes, "That's a very weird ending for a movie, Dad, for a movie." And I'm like, it is, but it's great. I love that movie. You ever see that Time Bandits there?
I have not seen the whole thing. No.
I have seen Time Bandits.
And it's fucking rules, right, Avery?
It was pretty good.
What? No,
It was
that's
strange.
oh,
It was
no,
strange.
The pain is
It
not
was
good.
enjoyable.
That's the noise that the bull-headed creature man who's
I
fighting
did
on
enjoy.
fire.
I did enjoy that quite a bit.
Terrifying.
Sounds good to eat.
When I was a little kid, I was terrified of that guy. And that was the noise that he would make. All right, guy. My number one. It's the only. It's the best answer. If this was a competition, back to this, I would win, hands down. My number one is from a movie that came out in 1995. Controversial movie, Brian, for other reasons. But the Sean Patrick Flannery plays Jeremy Powder Reed in the movie Powder from 1995.
Okay.
This is a hairless, soft, white, isolated, troubled youth who doesn't really belong on Earth, I don't think. So I'd be doing him a favor. I'm not killing him, but putting his body to good use. He's a peaceful being as well, so he would like to see life continue with his body, and he would be soft as can be. While Trumpy would be marbled, this guy would be more veal like than even the kid from Jerry Maguire. Powder is the right answer. Also, there's more of him than there would be of Ray Boyd from Jerry Maguire.
That is true. He's a fully grown adult. Well, is he a boy? No, he's like a teen, right?
Yeah, he's like just post pubescent. I think that was the controversy because the director apparently was a real piece of work monster.
Oh yeah,
pedophile, and like he wrote and cast this movie for like his sexual fantasy, which was Powder, like the hairless, as Crowley used to say, hairless and tight as a drum. That's horrible and graphic, but that's what Corolla would say, not my words. Funny words, but not mine. But yeah, Powder. You look at Powder and you imagine that you could cut his bicep with a butter knife. You know what I mean? Like
he's tender to the touch.
You can cut it with a fork. Like you don't have. I would imagine. Actually, you know what? They probably would have found some silverware out there.
They could fashion some seat buckles.
Oh no, I think that they at least have plasticware on those planes.
I see.
And this is like back in the 70s, right? So they probably had like actual metal.
That's a real good point. I am dying to hear the listener list.
Wait, you're not giving me any credit for fucking Powder over here.
Powder's good.
No, it's great, and I should have a victory lap.
Go ahead.
The listener list is compiled by Mitch Burns.
My victory lap. He was talking to me.
It was.
The listeners went more of Brian's B-sides, where they were thinking of just any sort of character.
You know why? You know why? Because they didn't allow themselves to immerse themselves into the subject matter for a full week like we have to do. So
some of them did, and Mitch made a separate list for them.
Because I would think that like they would just be like,
Thank
okay,
you,
what's the least offensive and upsetting where I can submit to this without seeming like a monster.
Right? Some did on the separate list.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'll read the first list. Listener Brian Raleigh calls this Army Hammer's favorite episode. So take that for what you want. Number 5 of the listeners is Sebastian the Crab from The Little Mermaid.
Sure, delicious. It wouldn't go far, but that's perfect.
Number 4, of course, Wilbur from Charlotte's Web. Number 3, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters.
See, now you're talking. He's going to feed the whole plane for a week.
Plus, he's sweet.
Oh, yeah. Number 2, Gingerbread Man from Shrek.
Not bad.
Oh, yeah.
And number 1 is Pizza the Hut from Spaceballs.
There you go.
Along with also rans from the listeners, Babe, Augustus Gloop, and Bambi and Thumper.
I felt bad about Augustus because he's a child, but apparently that's not off.
Fair game.
Who?
Augustus Gloop from Willy Wonka.
Hey, what if you were still worried about your figure out there and the ghost from A Ghost Story was on the flight? That'd be good. Like a diet food.
Interesting. I don't think you get much nutrients out of that though. I'd want his wife post pie.
Maybe his wife posts pie. Yeah, she's she would be like pork stuffed with blueberry pie.
Yeah, she'd be a little
Like-
foie gras.
She foie gras, exactly.
I think that,
Stuffed,
The foie gras is what I was thinking about when you were talking about Kim Jong Un, because he would.
oh no, cheese.
Oh, the cheese.
Yeah,
Then
but
the,
cheese would maybe like make his liver fatty, right? Probably.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, there you go. Foie gras. Foie gras. Hey, real quick before I forget, because I so sorry, I got to steamroll and just interject here. Donald Trump. I was trying to figure out which Donald Trump character to go with, and the two most notable titles were Home Alone 2, which is what I went with, but also Zoolander. I don't remember him in Zoolander. Did he just like
I
walk
think he
by
was like at the fashion
at the Met
thing.
or something?
Yeah.
apparently, there was a period of time where he was allowing productions to film in Trump Tower,
If
I
he was
think
in it?
for free or discounted. Yeah, if he was in it. Because he's in, isn't he in like he's in the Little Rascals movie, isn't he?
I don't
I'm pretty
remember.
sure.
I don't remember seeing him on the list for that. He was okay.
He's in a bunch of weird shit in the 90s. I'm shocked you didn't go with Rob Reiner. Thought that's where you were going.
No, I couldn't. I couldn't. I hate him that much that I don't want
The
him.
foul taste.
And then the second list that Mitch comprised, he said the following listeners need to go to horny jail for their interpretation
Oh my.
of this. Pete and Craig both said Marla Singer from Fight Club.
All right,
Andrew-
find her attractive.
Andrew Martin just simply stated Diane Lane. I think just from anything she's ever been. Listener Britton said Margot Robbie, whatever movie she's in. I'll start on the South End like they do on Safari.
I see where this is going.
And
South-
then
Wait, South what?
I said I'll start on the South End like they do on Safari.
Is that suggesting that he would eat her butt?
I suppose so. And then lastly, Kevin said Phoebe Cates from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Good
how much-
choices, I guess, but
I don't know how much
exactly-
nutrition is there,
Yeah,
but
we're talking
certainly some
about-
enjoyment.
These are very slight women.
I mean, they're obviously going like the Jeffrey Dahmer route, where like they just want them inside of them, right? Like because that was what Dahmer was all about. Like he loved them so much that I think Saltburn was a lot of that too.
Yeah.
He wanted to be these people and be a part of these people. So
Yeah, that was top 5 characters you'd Saltburn. That was the second list.
Anderson, I texted you over the weekend. Do you remember what I texted you?
you text me a lot of nonsense, Brad.
This was especially nonsensical. It was a food item.
Looking it up now. Looking it up now. Hold on. Was it just me or did you
Yeah, it
text?
was just you.
Uh,
I didn't want to waste Avery's time.
Just mine.
Thank you.
I don't see any text from you. Sorry.
Oily cakes.
Oh yes, that's right. You made some pancakes and you you wrote oily cakes.
Oh,
You know what it made me
the
think of?
cakes.
What's that?
You know what it made me think of?
What?
A cow from First Cow.
Well, that's what oily cakes is from.
I know, it grabs off list.
Eating the dairy cow, cutting
Yeah,
off
the
that
cow,
golden
yeah.
goose.
Think about
People
that.
love that movie. That's another one of those things. Just kind of like it just escapes me. Like, why did people love First Cow as much as they did? It was fine, but I would never like think this is a movie people need to see. Oily cakes.
You think I should do better with Bean, but instead of making love to the man, I eat him?
It's where I thought you would ultimately go with this list.
No, don't be tawdry.
All right, where are we going? What are we doing? What's happening? What's the
Think
next
we're gambling.
gambling? All right.
Last week we gambled on Argyle. Anderson gets 57, Bryan 62, Florence 63. With 238 reviews, the actual Rotten Tomato score is 34%, making Anderson the winner.
Good for
You
you.
haven't- Surprised you haven't seen this yet, Brad.
Now the Rotten Tomatoes score scared me away. I do worship at the altar.
You do. I know that is true.
His church bandit.
That's right.
All right. Well,
Church boycott.
fun
this week-
episode. Enjoy it.
We got to gamble.
We are
Yeah.
bringing like actual stakes back. We will be assigning each other movies after the Vaulties. I've
Nice.
decided, therefore, that is the way.
How close are we to
This.
exhausting our
This is the
listeners' assignment list?
I don't know. We owe a shit ton still, but there's a number of people who just don't reach out to me or don't respond when I think there's a number of people on that list who just want to be good listeners and give us $25 a month to help the show go, and they can't think of a movie to send us. I don't know. There's
I appreciate you.
a number of people who we're like 2 years behind on. So, if they were to ever come home to roost, we're in trouble. But right now we're kind of going off that model of the gyms. Every gym, like if every single member were to show up on a regular basis, they'd be fucked, because there'd be like a line around the
They
clock.
count on people paying and not showing up.
Right. And we're not counting on that. That wasn't what the deal was, but there's a good half a dozen people who are amongst those 20 people. I think there's only 20 that are allowed to be on now, because we capped it. There's like a good 6-7 people who we owe like 3 or 4 movies to. So do the math. That's a lot. That's like a year's worth of one movie a week. I mean, a half a year's worth of one movie a week. So we owe a lot of movies.
All
No,
right, let's
that said, the people that
gamble.
are cashing in, we're getting pretty close, but I have to go through and do another audit, and I think we are due another round for most of those people. So we probably have about 6 or 7 movies, maybe 15, that we have to do over the next month or 2.
Not bad. Not bad.
No, it's pretty bad, Brian, when we only have four a month.
Not bad.
We're just gonna have to do a couple at a time, or start watching 4 movies.
All right.
Okay.
Let's gamble and get out of here.
This week for Gambling On, Anderson's much anticipated Lisa Frankenstein.
Oh yeah.
You guys seen the trailer for this, right?
Am I is there something wrong with my brain that I kind of like the
Yeah.
trailer?
There's something very wrong.
I kind of like the trailer.
I have no idea what there is to like there.
I think it's pretty snappy and engaging.
Really? You can't tell me.
I'm not fucking.
That's the last thing I would have ever guessed to come out of your mouth about this movie in this trailer.
Well, the
Pops.
trailer can be snappy and engaging.
The trailer's not, though. I hate the
True.
color choices. I don't like his Johnny Depp look. I hate everything that's supposed to be funny in the movie. It's just awful from one moment to the next.
It scares me that it's all kind of working for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
If it's like above 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, do you think you have to see it?
You talking to yourself, Brian?
No. Yes, I'm looking at my.
Well, that's rhetorical for Brian if it's above 90.
What for you, Andy?
No, I'm not seeing this movie.
Huh?
This movie will not be seen by me, because I know what it is, and I have no interest in it. It's not
All
made
right.
for me at all.
All right, 95. Oh, sir.
I just assume watch a Wes Anderson movie. Take your pick.
Wow. All right, you got a number?
I do.
All right, what is it?
53. What's yours?
58.
Mhm.
I don't know why you
All right.
did that. I was waiting for a 1, 2, 3.
Because we're not in person, so I'm a little bit off.
All right, 58 for me.
All right. For Lisa Frankenstein, Anderson guessed 53.
Oh, it's gonna be 67 or some dumb shit.
Brian guesses 58. With 0 reviews, there is no Rotten Tomatoes
Hey,
score.
It used to be a bad sign. Now it's just kind of the norm.
I don't know. It's bad news for Argyle.
Oh, I'm kind of hoping it's good. Speaking of good, you can check out Comedy Confessional as you're hearing this on Friday, February 9th. You can go to @ConfessComedy on Instagram, grab tickets. Starts at 8:00. The rain will have stopped. So if you're looking for something to do now that you've gotten out and about, come celebrate with a little Comedy Confessional. It'll be fun.
I know Anderson wasn't a big fan. I enjoyed the show. And I think everyone else would like it, especially a few days before Valentine's Day. You're probably going to get a lot of love confessionals.
There you go.
All right, very good. Yes, a terrible show. I hate it, and not a worse way to spend your evening.
Really mean.
High
All
water
right.
mark.
My voice is going, so let's wrap this up. Thanks to Jim Rutherford. And look at the listener art. Come on.
It is good. The listener art is quite good.
It's pretty good. Rutherford, he also made that one that we can never air, right? Or never.
Yes, you did.
He made something that was very. It's great. It was great, but it just it would suggest that maybe we're being homophobic.
Wait, is this no. As someone who grew up in the Bay Area, that's just another day in the Bay.
Basically, just another day in the Bay.
It was like a daytime shot from Cruisers, the movie, with Brian.
Is this artwork based on something we discussed?
Of course. You don't have a drop foot. You don't have a limp. It's just because everywhere you go, you have a giant satchel filled with your autograph slicks.
And you're hoping to be recognized.
Yes. That's the joke. You don't
Well
remember that?
done, Jim. Well done. I enjoy. No, add to my drive. Fuck off.
Brian's looking at it like, where's the joke? I
I
don't
was
get
gonna
it.
say, this is supposed to be funny, like a play on real life.
He's like, did
Thanks,
he take?
Jim.
Was Jim in Europe when this picture was? Did he take this picture? Was
Did
there
he see
paparazzi there?
me setting up? Anderson Bryan is where you go to view the great artwork. Thanks, Thomas Kustermann. Thomas Kustermann for sending us Black Is, Black Ain't. Appreciate you a lot. And everyone who sends us a movie or a topic. Either way, appreciate that. Hank and Her Ponies is the future artist. Go to AndersonBryan.com to hear more of them. Anderson Bryan is the website. Anderson Bryan is the Facebook. No, excuse me. Anderson Bryan is the Instagram. Anderson Bryan is the TikTok. The Film Vaults on Twitter and Facebook. And the
Eric
Film
Caff.
Vaults podcast on YouTube. What's that?
Eric Caff. Did you say Eric Caff?
I haven't gotten there.
Does a lot of good work for us.
My voice is leaving.
Ooh, Bear. Hey, let me jump in the middle of your credits. Loaded for Bear. The first pass, the first rough cut has come back. The short has come back my way, and I was dreading it, Brian. I hate it. There's no worse feeling. You've already dealt with this, right? With your documentary.
I literally talked to an editor this morning. I'm talking to an editor tomorrow. So yeah, we're right in that same spot.
But you've seen a rough cut of your movie.
I've seen a rough cut of the first.
Was it one of the worst moments of your life? Was like right up there with getting diagnosed?
Crushing.
Yeah, it's one of the worst.
Oh, at least with being diagnosed, there was hope.
Yeah, like you feel like there's no hope when you see the first rough cut of anything you do. Now, a lot of the stuff that I've done, I've cut myself, so it doesn't come as like a major surprise because I'm assembling it as I go and I see it forming. And there's a lot of like tenuous moments, and it's like, do I have enough to actually make it work here? But I'm in it. But when you hand off a project and then it comes back to you and you're seeing it for the first time assembled, there's no worse feeling as a filmmaker. I can tell you, there's no worse fucking feeling. Watching Groupers for the first time when the rough cut was just one of the worst moments of my entire life. It was awful, and I thought about just escaping, just leaving the country.
Think about how the rest of us felt seeing the final product.
I knew I was setting you up there, but I can say this: the first cuts that I got back for Loaded for Bear the short was actually kind of enjoyable, and I was dreading it, and I steeled myself, and I was ready for just the worst. And Chad Ice is my my editor. Thankfully, he called me up and he's like, "Hey, dude, you probably need an editor, and you should think of me because he worked with me on Groupers." I'm like, "You know what? All right, fine, yes, let's do this." So, anyways, it's coming together. We already submitted to Tribeca. We're going to submit to all sorts of festivals here moving forward, and hopefully it will be available sometime soon. But yeah, it's better than I had hoped.
All right, great work. I'm glad to hear that, and I'd like to see more of it.
Oh, you okay?
The voice is
You're
going.
gonna die right now. You won't see.
Thanks to Giovanni, Mitch Burns. No, I'm just kidding. Mike Cole and Eric Kath, appreciate you guys and all the work you do for the show. Check out Eddie's Antiques, and we'll see you next week. Until then,
We do it for Van Gogh.